Good morning, everyone. This is the Caucus of the Jersey City Municipal Council. Today is Monday, August 13th. We had a scheduled start of 10 a.m. My phone tells me it's 10:17 a.m. Present at roll call, Councilperson Ridley.
Present.
Prinzeri.
Here.
Fagiano. Absent. Yun.
Here.
Solomon.
Here.
Robinson.
Here.
Rivera.
Here.
Waterman. Should be joining us.
She may be late or she may not show up. Sure.
Council President.
Here.
We have 7 members in attendance at 10:17. Take it away, Council President.
Okay, so I'm going to do things a little bit differently today. Try to do the things that are less controversial and get the folks out who are just presenting some non-controversial matters. So we're going to start with Greg. Greg? Yes. Yep. Yeah. Greg is 10Z1 and 10Z2.
Locate those on the agenda.
This covers insurance for 2 lots that we need. They're both lots that are next to a mural that we're working on, so it just covers insurance for the lot for the duration of the project.
Is it both the same?
They're different projects, but yeah, it's
10Z1 is to authorize an agreement with Skyway Realty and authorizing the risk manager to issue a certificate of insurance for the coverage of a mural project as part of the city's graffiti mitigation program. That's Z2, excuse me. Z1 is, it's Z1 and Z2, correct? Yeah, Z2 is rather lengthy. It's a resolution authorizing the city to enter into an agreement with LHN owner Urban Renewal, Fisher Developments, and authorizing the city risk manager to issue a certificate of insurance to for coverage of a mural project as part of the city's public art program.
There's a lot of names on that one. It's just because that's a high-rise and it's a big project with a lot of parties involved.
Councilman Solomon?
Can you share any, details, information on what's going up at each of these sites?
These are both murals that have gone in front of the board and have been approved. They've been vetted with the community, both of the murals, so it's gone through that process. And in the case of the Z2, that mural is being paid for entirely by the developer. We're really just supplying paint and the lift and insurance for the lot next to the project.
Any other questions? Council members? Thank you, Greg.
You're welcome.
All right, next is Matt. Matt has 10Z27. This is a renewal of an extraordinary unspecifiable service agreement with Claims Resolution Corporation to act as a third-party administrator for workers' compensation and liability claims for the city of Jersey City. This is a claims resolution. You want to say anything more?
This will be their fourth year as our claims administrator. This will be the last of the one-year extensions from their three-year contract.
Any questions for Matt on this?
So this is, oh no, any council members? So after we hire, we pay the company around $190,000 a year for their service. Do any have some improvement compared with the 2013 since that? Do you have any numbers, how much claim is workers' common liability is dropped or increased or any settlement? Can you give us?
A couple of figures that I could give you. Since 2015, they've helped us recover $1.3 million from our excess insurance companies and through third-party subrogation. And also since 9/1/15, through their repricing of our medical for our workers' comp, we've saved $3.7 million, and $1.6 million of that has been since 9/1/17.
So in other words, even though we spend $190,000, it's a benefit to the city of Jersey, huge, right? So I think I asked in the last council meeting if we're able to provide like a chart, comparison chart, every year how much we pay the service, so and so, and any the years claims, settles, so and so. So I think we're going to be recognize your great job and your effort. So can't you provide the information? I think last time you say yes, and I didn't receive it. All right, so please.
We'll do a month-to-month savings chart.
We know that. Okay. So when the people get to raise their paycheck, maybe city council ask them to include your name to raise your paycheck too. Nothing wrong with that. If you do a great job, if you're able to save that taxpayer dollar, but your office is located downstairs, so if no one recognizes your hard work, that's not fair. Correct? Correct. Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Okay. Stacy. Ten Z3. 10Z3.
Good. Are you going to read it, or do you want me to?
Authorizing the execution of intergovernmental agreement with Hudson County in connection with a grant application for the Hudson County, Jersey City Transitional Grant Areas fiscal year 2018 funding to fund various programs servicing AIDS patients.
Yes, so this is the Ryan White money that we get. It's a federal block grant. It goes to the county. We actually allow the county to disperse the funds, and we add to that in kind through the AIDS task force.
Any questions for Stacy? Hearing none, thank you, Director.
Councilman Bojano's not here to tell him that my dog was sprayed by a skunk.
Actually, it's nothing to do with this one, but what happened, the July and August, the senior movie tree, they provide the transportation to pick up the group of people from the height. They missed it the July and August, 2 straight months. And
So on the way last week, and Recreation supports HHS on Tuesdays with buses to the movies. It turns out someone in Recreation called out sick, and they were unable to have another person on staff to be able to drive one of the buses. So,
because the same kind of issue happened, as you know, you got Council President, very good memory, 2014 and 2015. At that time, Director Stacy, same things she said that Recreation Department to provide transportation, because if their driver is a Mr. Day, they don't know that they missed the day. So a lot of seniors, 20-some, close to 30 seniors stay outside the hot weather just waiting for Godot. This is the problem. So at the time, she said she come up plan, anytime Recreation Department, the driver missed the job, they're supposed to notice the Stacy. Stacy will be noticed at the, what are they called, senior groups. But what happened, it's happened now. So we try to make sure that if recreation department not able to provide a driver, then your duty, how are we gonna arrange with the recreation, that's your job, to make sure, immediately notice that your department, or your department notice that the senior student doesn't have to wait for outside more than hours of hot weather. So I hope it's not happen again.
So I never received a call until you called me on Tuesday. I was in a meeting, and I didn't get your call until later in the day when I called you back. Joan told me she'd already spoken to Artie about that. I never had that conversation with Director Williams because we hadn't had a problem. So this is one of the hiccups that I take full responsibility that I did not discuss with him in the transition of him becoming director, because we haven't had that issue yet. So we had it under previous directors. We had not had that under this current director. So I will go back. We met on Friday. He understands. He needs to call someone in when someone calls out sick.
So I hope, like, not only my district, probably other district, same things happen. We don't want to make sure that it's not happen again. So I don't want our senior waiting for outside the bus, out there, temperatures like 90 degrees, like hours. I hope it not happen again. That's it.
Thanks.
Just make sure that, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bernadette and Shirley. They have a 10Z5, is that right? Yes. And a walk-on. So Z5 is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to NWN Corporation for the purchase and delivery of Cisco Spark boards under state contract for the City Hall Annex building.
As we said before, we're trying to finish outfitting the annex. The chosen solution we would like to use is a Microsoft Hub device, but they were back ordered. The last purchase order we actually brought to you back in March, April. After it was issued, we found out that we could not acquire those devices right now, and we would have to wait until after January, perhaps as late as February or March. So we decided to move forward with another solution temporarily. This isn't enough for everywhere that we need them, so we're just going to get them started so that they have something in several of the rooms. Yes.
So you can,
Well, they will be mounted on the wall, but we can then remove them and put them somewhere else. But they're not on a cart or from a day-to-day standpoint movable.
So they fix it forward.
Yes.
Yes, Council President. So because when I look at it, like around the 100 items we discussed, that when you talk about the one issue, city on annex, this is the one. But I like to ask the business administrator. I heard the rumor, I hope it's a rumor, the new city hall annex building, we spend the $20-30 million bill. I heard the rumors, they're not built wheelchair accessible. Is that true? City hall annex building is a public building. When you do the build, first place.
yeah. There's one, it's wheelchair accessible, everything's ADA compliant. There's one extra curb cut that we're going to add at a secondary entrance by the WIC clinic. That's,
So they require to secondary.
yeah, it's just cutting the curb down to, that was it.
What was the reason that they missed that job in the first place? I heard the rumors.
We thought it was a regular, we didn't expect there to be that additional need, but people feel like because they want to go straight into that building, there is a curb cut in between the two entrances. And it's just that we're seeing a lot more moms with strollers. It's not about wheelchair accessibility, it's just that moms want to enter direct with their strollers.
Yeah, so, and I'm meeting with the developer tomorrow just to talk about this, and we have also an alternative to do it through one of our concrete contracts that we're going to be pushing for. So,
They already brand new roof is leaking. Is that true?
There was a leak in one of the door seals on the second floor. It wasn't the roof necessarily. And then there was something with an air conditioner, just some growing pains in the new building. It was just the molding that had to be replaced. So it's not like the roof is coming down.
So I just want to make sure that when we prove that the contract with, what's the name, the brand wine,
Yep.
minute we take over key from them, every repair, doesn't matter how much we spend, $20, $30 million, every repair, city of Jersey is responsible. So we're gonna make sure that,
Yeah, we still meet with them regularly to make sure if there are any lingering issues that we're addressing it accordingly based on who's responsible.
thank you.
I had a little, not, I know you guys are working very hard on these issues. I had a little bit of sticker shock with this. And in my experience, sometimes the sort of higher tech solutions are maybe not as utilized as we might hope they are. That, you put a whiteboard in a phone and you may get 80% of the utilization than the more expansive. So I'm just wondering what your guys sort of, what the thinking behind kind of a really, I mean, this is $70,000. It's a pretty sizable amount of money just for 4 systems.
The systems are actually multiple features, right? So they can act with projectors, they can take the things that you have, so we don't have to do a projector, we don't have to do a speakerphone because they have that built into them already. It has video conferencing already built into it as well for the people who are doing that. We're going to give these a try. We can buy some more or do a different solution for other rooms if we find that's not being utilized.
Have a sense that this is a sort of a pressing need, video conferencing, all this type of projection. That's something we as a city think we're really
One of the things that the big utilization for this room, for example, is I guess I'm announcing it now, we're in the process of transitioning to a digital agenda system, so no more paper, something we can see on a screen and interact with directly electronically instead of passing pieces of paper around. This will unlock that functionality in this room. And there are other technology needs that we're looking at across the city that this will help with. So
I can verify that. They just reached out to me late last week, notifying of working with the council, and particularly I guess with our agendas and things like that to try to move to
the digital
paperless.
agenda, yeah.
But are these 4 for the annex? Are we doing the agenda meetings in the annex? No. I'm fine with it.
We have an immediate need for any solution right now over there, and so we thought if we rolled these out over there and gave them a test run and made sure that they're going to meet the needs and do well and fit what we need to do, we could.
If I can just piggyback on what Councilman Solomon, so we've been asking for a smart board forever at this point, right?
Yeah.
So we could be a good test case and actually roll out the idea of paperless, and figure out how that works within our operations.
We can put them anywhere. They're coming out of city funds. We can put them anywhere.
We could start with 1 in here if you want, or not.
Yeah, I'm fine with, I'm great with that. With the commitment that we're moving towards paperless, right? It's
Yeah.
And conferencing and all this stuff,
It's actually smart board, right?
Solution said Spark.
I know Stacey.
It is Spark.
Do you mind if she says?
Great.
Francisco.
A lot of our grantors are expecting us to be sort of at the next level, so they are inviting us to web chats with cameras, and we don't have them in my office.
Yeah.
I mean, Bernadette knows, and she's been working on this. In order for me, there's no place to have a conference call, so I have to move my phone onto another desk. And these are things that are very important in the conference room setting, and because we're trying to move our organizations into the next century, that's what the grants are giving us funding to do. So if we need to spend some of the grant money to cover this, but most of our grantors are giving us money to transform the department. And in such, they host these meetings and they expect us to not be using paper, to be using some of these higher level tools, and we're not on them yet.
We have 0 video conferencing capability right now as a city. So this would replace having a video conferencing tool in every office, just have one in every building sort of thing, so.
Okay. You had a walk-on. Do we have
Yes,
that?
I don't know if it was delivered yet, though.
AT&T wireless service to change the Verizon and they're not able to do that? That's your department, right?
You have a walk-on for a Verizon claims resolution.
Claims resolution for 2017. I don't believe it was done.
If you want to explain what that is, when we get it, and what the urgency is, so it'll be a late item.
Yes, sir.
So only late items are considered if there's an urgency to the need.
These are bills that are from 2017. So the history of this is when we came to you a year and a half ago now, we did an emergency resolution. That emergency resolution was for 6 months because I anticipated we should have been able to move the project to transform our voice services into digital data services instead of PRI-based services, telecom services. We did not get that done in a timely way, and we did not bring forward a resolution to amend that through the end of the year 2017. So these are past due bills for 2017. They were being held. We were going to bring them forward in December. They got pulled in December and held to be part of the project. The project we brought forward to you was in April. However, these resolutions erringly got left off of that. They should have come in April when the rest of the project came forward. So we're still trying to get the bills paid from 2017. Verizon is now contacting us, telling us that because of the extended delay, they are talking about shutting us off. So they would like to see progress in paying our bills, past due bills.
So if you'll have to have that readily available, and then, once the council people have an opportunity to review it, I'm going to ask that you come back for our council meeting in case people have questions about that, okay? Okay, so somebody will make sure we get that to Margaret?
Yes.
Great.
I believe Tom McKinney was working it on Friday, so I think he's... Sure, absolutely.
Do you want to do it now, or you want to wait till the end? Since are you planning to hang out with us for the whole day, or? Come on in. Come on up, come on up. He's got 10U. Steve has 10U, 10Z8, and 10Z9. 10U, 10Z8, 10Z9.
All right, 10ZU. Big agenda to go through. 10ZU is a resolution authorizing the purchasing agent to sell various impounded motor vehicles at public auction. And the others were 10Z what, Council President?
Z8 and 9.
Thank you.
Okay, 10ZU is an auction for the cars. We're still waiting on the ordinance and then the bid spec to correct this problem. This is one where Marty got a whole lot of cars done. I think there's 155 total. So we're trying to get rid of the long-term storage fees. And we have a faster method of getting them through the state, which helps.
All right, thank you. Next item.
That's 10Z8.
10Z9. The 10Z8.
10Z8 is authorizing a contract with Newark Asphalt to provide asphalt materials to the Department of Public Works, street maintenance.
This is street resurfacing, correct?
This is primarily potholes fixing. Street resurfacing would come through engineering's contract. So that's engineering people. That's separate from this. This is renewing the contract that we did last year. and it's just basically continuing it for the second year option.
Ton, or is this a guaranteed 147,000? Because I see it says maximum price per ton, 2,000 tons and 100 tons of the cold patch, but there's no minimum. So are we paying as we go, or are we paying for the entire one?
This is open-ended again. The price per ton changes depending on the day they go to pick it up. But this is an open-ended contract. It's got minimum, zero, maximum amount of tons on it in the middle.
Enough, or will they be coming back to ask for more? Because we do have a lot of potholes.
I don't foresee us going over the maximum. If we did, we would have to come back if it went 20% over, but I don't see that happening. Yeah, you can go up to 20% over without needing a resolution to amend.
Any other questions? I have a question, which is, our DPW staff was filling potholes, and we also had a vendor. That's still the arrangement currently?
Yep, two separate operations.
Two separate operations?
Yeah, we're working in conjunction with this equipment, so you know. Because of the number of when we started out, the number of potholes was very tremendous. So we had this piece of equipment along with two other pieces to catch up. Now we're getting to that point where we're catching up.
I think I asked you, are we tracking
Yeah, we are.
productivity of the vendor
Yes.
as well as the internal staff?
Yes.
Yeah, I have something to share for the council, hopefully in the next couple of days, with a map of all the potholes, the month they've been filled, and filtered by ward, so.
But by which entity is doing it?
Yes.
DPW versus the vendor?
We have that data as well, yeah, we can share that.
I'd like to see that breakdown in terms of...
Yep. Still, we're still waiting for an update from the pothole killer vendor on July potholes filled, so once we get that, then I'll send it around.
Okay. Any questions, anyone? on that one? Okay, 10Z9. It's a resolution authorizing the renewal of an open-end contract with Plaza Auto Body, Inc., A Lembo Car and Truck Collision, Inc., Highway Towing and Collision, LLC, and Diamond Auto Body for collision repairs for the Department of Public Works, Division of Automotive Maintenance.
Yeah, so last year, we went out to bid for collision contract for repairs of city-owned vehicles. We're renewing our one-year option, which commences, I believe, September 1st. It's significantly cheaper, our repair rate, so we're saving money by using the bid as opposed to using any type of state contract or anything like that.
Questions, anyone?
What are the type of repairs can we do in-house versus?
Well, all auto body work is sent out. Okay. We do not have any capabilities in-house to do any type of auto body repair.
These all local?
Yes, I believe 3 out of the 4 of them are Jersey City businesses, and the fourth one is a Newark business.
And so this year we print the budget at $800,000, but last year we put you $800,000, but your department to spend only $400,000, not when you said $400,000. Do you have any? Your department, do they any analyze that all the collision where they come from by our fault or somebody's fault? If there's somebody's fault, how much we actually claim that, collect the money? So even though we spend the $400,000, $400,000 not spend all the taxpayer dollar, probably some portion of the $400,000 come from claim by insurance companies. Do you have any those kind of information to us?
Currently, no. Right now, the claims is handled by the law department. So whenever they...
Risk management, which one?
Yeah,
Law department.
Risk management.
Sorry, no, yeah. So it's a combination, so when an accident happens, if it's an at-fault accident, all of it's handled on that side. So we don't know what is reimbursed to the city for how much or anything like that. All repairs is strictly a budget item out of automotive.
Again, as your division, director is of that department, can't you ask risk management to get some data? So can we share with our council so we know exactly?
To the BA.
Yeah. And then not only that, if the collision happened by our fault, what kind of disciplinary charge against who motor vehicle operator in city of Jersey, city employee? Do you take any actions you ever take them, part of? Disciplinary action for them?
If one of our drivers
Yes.
intentionally causes an accident?
Because some drivers really don't pay attention. This is not my vehicle, so who the hell cares? Drive them wild. So we want to make sure that we as a taxpayer pay $400,000. If something happened by other party, yes, we understand the rule. But how many cases, got a separate case by other party who are our own city employee, then what kind of discipline, whatever, you got to do some kind of accountability. Yeah.
On the DPW side, yes. Don't forget, we're handling many departments, the fleet between fire, police, and different agencies that that have cars. We do track somewhat on our end, but not on that end. But we could get you that information through the BA.
Public safety does do an independent investigation on their end, so police and fire internally do have their accident review committee.
So now, what they do is one thing, but share with the information, council is another thing. Can't we have, right? Not only much, all the council members, okay? Yeah. So we know is that we not all spend, the taxpayer spend the $400,000. We recover by third party so much. So actually we spend the tax dollars maybe $100,000. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So we got to do something about that, okay? Yep.
Okay. Thank you. That's it, Steve? Yeah?
Second reading ordinance on amending the code. I don't
Which
think there's
one?
any questions. We did that for the car pound. 4B. I think we went through all of that the last time. Yes, that's it's on second reading now, and then once that's approved, we can do the bid specs and get them out. That's it. 4B.
This will be for the second reading.
So I thought somebody requested me to change, make it effective 90 days.
I believe that's what we agreed to, wasn't it?
We requested the change for 90. If I got into the council members' packet, still says 60. I'll make sure everybody has an updated change
Yeah.
for Wednesday when we change it.
Okay.
On the record now, so everybody's aware, we're requesting 90 days, and the reason for the extra time is to make sure the RFP goes in fully, cleanly, and that we don't wind up having time where it comes effective and then doing RFP conclusion afterwards. So I think we might be okay with 60 days, but the director and I feel much more comfortable with 90 days. So I'll make sure everybody has that change by Wednesday.
Council President, I believe that's what you suggested in the beginning. Was the 90 days, but I was reluctant and I figured it could go to 60 days.
Okay.
So what we decided is we're still shooting for the 60 days, but, we feel a little more comfortable after discussing this fully with council that we go for the 90.
Quick question on that is, have you had conversations with any of the tow truck folks and impound folks?
Not yet. We were just basically looking to, I know we're going to have an open meeting in reference to that for the RFP, once this is approved.
Okay. Questions? Any other? All right. Thank you. Let's see, Director Shea. What's this? What's your? He's got a bunch of items, but I think most of them are not controversial. I'm not sure what the 10W looks like. Yep, 10W, and then 10, 10Z10 through 10Z17.
It's mostly yours. Oh, there's a lot of, the body armor replacement fund, and 10W.
So 10W is a resolution authorizing the city of Jersey City to apply for funds from the New Jersey Department of Law and Public Safety, Division of Criminal Justice, on behalf of the police department to purchase body armor, the 2018 Body Armor Replacement Fund. Is there anything to say about that? Any questions, council people, for that? This is, nope, great. Want to move on to 10Z10, which is a resolution awarding a contract to Millennium Communications for upgrades to the video surveillance servers for the Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security through the Interlocal Purchasing System, TIPS. This is video surveillance servers. Folks, any questions about this?
How do we determine which servers are old and needing a replacement?
This is actually, we've expanded the system over the last 2 years. So we've added 120 cameras. So we're out of server space. We need these servers to keep them. Plus, we maintain this video for a while, so it takes up a lot of space.
So are these new, or is this replacement of the old, or some combination of the two?
Combination of the two. We're replacing the old ones with better and more expansive.
Okay, how long do we expect? So let's say we make this purchase, how long do we expect these to hold up for? When would we?
I'm not sure. Maintenance contracts. Yeah, well, we have the maintenance contracts on everything now, so I'm not sure. They're brand new. I hope they outlast me. I'll put it that way.
So,
Homeland Security.
This is part of our whole camera upgrade system. This is coming out of our forfeiture funds from the prosecutor's office, and approved by them. I'm just letting you know what we're doing and getting your approval too. We already spent over $1 million on cameras. We're about to spend another $400,000 plus this for the servers, to upgrade the servers. And then the next phase after that, Greg Kearse, we're going to replace the Homeland cameras, which is our evacuation routes and our emergency exits from the city in case of a natural disaster. Then we're going to go back to crime and spend the next. So we'll be adding cameras over the next year, constantly. Yeah, we're doing about another 4. That'll be coming up once we get a bid on it. We'll be doing 400,000. We selected we have the funding from our, That's going to be for cameras. CCTV? Yeah, CCTV on the streets, yeah. At our crime-prone locations.
So, Council President, yes.
So I can say that very proudly, the CCTV system, City of Jersey, I was one of the members that initiated, bring up the first time history of the United States to bring up CCTV in commercial area in the United States. So I'm very proud of the program. But now, I have a concern. When we create a CCTV program and the first time, CCTV program more like ProAct. So monitor room, monitor in the screens if any certain area undesirable gathering or something stranger things happen, actually monitoring make a call to dispatch room that requested patrol car to send to certain area. Today, we have 120 camera. In other words, to monitor 120 cameras, each screen may be divided by 4. At least 30 monitors installed to watch the whole program. In order to watch that 30 monitors, at least we have 10 to 15 people working at the monitor room to monitor the whole activity in that area. But we don't have that kind of manpower. So more likely, what I see that today's CCTV, more likely after accident or instant, use that CCTV room as a gathering information. So big difference that what we studied is more proactive, so we can something stop that instant before it happen. Today, more likely CCTV room, wait till something happen. If something happen, we use the information, whatever record we have, looking for chase the guy, bad guy. So I think about time to increase the manpower, monitor room, and the more use the CCTV room more proactive. but we are not actually. So I'd like to hear your opinion, how you future plans you're gonna have, because it continue increase, there more cameras out there, but if we lack the manpower, working the monitors, so if we not take any proactive, I think it's sometimes when I look at it, some case can be useless. You know what I'm saying?
Let me respond. Director.
Okay,
Yeah.
it hasn't been used proactively since I got here. So when it changed was before at least my tenure here, which is over 5 years now. We just did, and you know because you authorized me to pay it, we did a whole evaluation of CCTV, 911, everything else. One of the things we had an outside auditor check for us was how many proactive tips we got from that room. The answer was zero. No matter how, zero over the last 3 years, zero. So when it stopped being proactive, I can't tell you, but it's absolutely not proactive today. So we're replacing it with this system. This system is going directly to the police. So there is no intermediary anymore. There's no bank of cameras that somebody's being paid to watch that then sees something suspicious and calls 911, who calls the police. So now this system goes directly to the desks, to the police officers in the cars as fast as I can equip them with phones, to our police intelligence service who still watches it, and we're about to, as we end the off-duty program, we're going to take all those civilians and move them over to kind of what you're describing, but a tighter intelligence unit that looks at the cameras with the police with them, telling them we want you to watch this corner because we have problems, we want you to watch this corridor because there have been robberies. That's going to be all done. But as far as just having people sitting in a room watching cameras, waiting to see something and call the police, has proven ineffective, so we're not going in that mode.
Questions? All right, next item is 10Z11. This is a resolution amending a contract with AT&T.
Yes, yeah, this just was switching from Verizon to AT&T for cell phones. It's strictly a money thing. Somewhere I got my money. The bottom line is cheaper. We're switching from Verizon. We used to use both. Don't ask me why. It took us a while to get our arms wrapped around all the cell phone contracts that were going on in this city. We were paying multiple different rates for different things. Now we're going to AT&T, FirstNet AT&T. It's going to be cheaper by what we can calculate, probably about $12,000 a month. But don't get excited because I plan on rolling that $12,000 a month into new phones for the police officers that I just described, so that they can be riding around, watching the video real time anywhere in the city, getting want ads immediately as one comes out, descriptions of bad guys' cars, etc. So we're going to be saving money by going to AT&T strictly and getting rid of Verizon, and then we're going to be rolling that money into new phones, which the phones they give us free. It's the paying for the monthly fees that cost money. And if Verizon comes in cheaper, we'll switch back to them.
Any questions? No, none. 10Z12, contract awarded to Caucus General LLC for the installation of a storage tent for the Department of Public Safety Division of Fire. Chief?
That's ours. Any questions? That's just for a temporary firehouse for the apparatus, the foot of SIP Avenue, SIP and 440.
It's to reopen SIP and 440.
So the quick question I had is, it says that they're the practical to with any other quotes, as they're the only installer in the Northeast. Can you just explain why they're the only ones?
That I can't answer. We searched around for whoever could actually install them. We went through purchasing. Purchasing chose them, and they're the only ones that we know of that can do it.
Because there's nobody else that does it.
Nobody that they could find that for the price anyway. Yeah. So hopefully they'll be up in sometime in September.
Questions, anyone?
13 is mine too.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, the next 5 over. Thank you.
Which one are we at? 10Z13?
13.
It's a
Contract to Pierce Manufacturing for the purpose and delivery of a fire pumper through the Houston Galveston Area Council Cooperative.
It's a new fire truck. Questions, anyone? None? Next item, 10Z14. It's a contract to Minerva Bunker Gear Cleaners LLC for the cleaning, decontamination, inspection, and repair of all firefighting protective gear and accessories for the Department of Public Safety Division of Fire. I thought we did something similar, yeah.
No, that was the original one last, for the beginning budget. We ran out of that money, and I had said at one of the meetings that because we're actually enforcing the NFPA requirements of yearly cleaning of the gear professionally, a lot of them are getting put out of service because we haven't been cleaning them. Now that we have over the 600 firefighters, each have 2 sets of gear. It's about $100 per set to clean. So if I did every set, it's about $120,000. That's without repairs or anything else. This will just give us enough to get the rest of the equipment that we haven't cleaned for the rest of the year, because we got about halfway through and ran out of money.
But this is the same company?
That we threw the last.
Correct.
Same company?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and because it's over a certain amount of money, we had to go through this process to get them, so.
Okay, thank you. Next item.
15.
NZ15 is a contract
To AAA Emergency Supply Company for the purchase and delivery of fire hoses for the Department of Public Safety Division of Fire. Self-explanatory, right, folks? All right. No questions on that. 10Z16. This is a...
Fire and safety for personal protective gear and equipment under state contract.
There's an amendment.
Yeah, just adding some extra money to buy to replace some of that gear that was condemned over the year for the cleaning, so.
And a new class.
Yeah, and we have a new class going on in October, so we need to buy gear for them also. Probably about 30 firefighters.
Was all this anticipated when we did the budget back a month ago?
Not the stuff that, not the amount of gear that we had
Condemned.
that was condemned.
That's what threw this off.
Yeah,
Okay, so this is
yeah.
going to be an increase and have, I mean, is the budget office aware and they're working at like ways to?
But it's not going to be a yearly increase, this should be a one-time hit.
Yeah.
Unless we have, I mean, we have an old city.
Sure.
We, at any given time, we could fight a fire that could put everybody's stuff out of.
Which
based on
happened to
asbestos
us.
or something.
The
So
asbestos that
it's very
happened to us,
hard
yeah.
judge.
So,
Or we could get lucky.
Yes, we
Yeah.
can handle that back.
Figuring out how
Yeah.
we're addressing the.
yeah. And the issue is OSHA requires us, we have to buy the equipment for the firefighters. We can't make them buy it themselves, we have to buy it for them. So, it's expensive, yeah.
Yeah, bottom line is, this is going to increase, but it's not crazy, but it's going to increase because the safety regulations are increasing, and
Yeah.
environmental regulations. They're finding a lot more things are dangerous that they're not willing to let, now they're condemning these things more than they
Right.
used to.
No cleaning company, like for asbestos, no cleaning company will say they can get the asbestos out. So we had perfectly good gear with asbestos contamination we had to throw away. Because nobody can guarantee it's cleaned. Anyway.
Thank you. What else? 10Z17?
Yeah, 17 is just purchase. This again is through our fire safety account. It's not, that's why it's not capital, or anything else for things. It's for 3 vehicles, 3 Ford Explorers, Department of Public Safety, Division of Fire. We're trying to get our, what I call our lesser fleet, our cars that we use on a replacement schedule like our larger fleet, the trucks. So like our trucks, Steve knows what he buys every year. 1 pumper this year, a pumper in the truck next year, et cetera, et cetera. We're trying to do the same thing with our lowers, so we're going to try to go 3 this year, 2 next year, and from now on, it'll just be 3, 2, 3, 2. And then we push the lower cars, because they usually have a year or 2 left of routine usage as opposed to emergency usage. We'll push those to other city agencies through the business administrator. So recreation, et cetera, can get the ones that are being replaced by these.
What's the account here?
Fire safety or fire?
Yeah, it's the fire prevention account, yeah.
Fire prevention.
That we collect fines and
It can only be
permits
used for fire.
funds, yeah.
Questions, Councilman?
Council President, all these items, we know that we budgeted. But my concern is that, I like to say that congratulated that promote the deputy chiefs and the sergeants and so on so. But those kind of funds, where they come from? They increase that they promoted the salary increase.
We'll make sure we finish with this one, Councilman.
Yes, please, okay?
Any questions about this, the Ford Explorers? Anyone? Okay. So I think Councilman Yun is asking questions about the recent police promotions. He has a couple more items. So Z26 and Z25.
That's just
Hire a new contractor.
Yeah, we're hiring firefighters, and they have to go through the psychological evaluation, so that's just the company that does that. That's 26.
26.
Z26 is the one I just mentioned, yeah.
Electrical training for firefighter candidates.
Yeah, 26. I mean, the doctor come to Jersey City to examine that.
No, we send them to the location.
We send to the people to Clark, New
Yeah.
Jersey.
We've always done that.
We cannot find any doctor from in Jersey City.
You got me? We don't.
We've always used this psychiatrist. He's willing to testify and say, no. The short answer is no. It's not, I can find 1 million doctors in Jersey City. Finding one that is willing to make a psychological decision about our applicants and stand by it and testify to civil service about it and in subsequent litigation is much more difficult. This is a tried and true one everybody uses.
The difficulty of the job.
Yes, yeah, that's it.
Okay. Okay.
Good.
Z55?
55.
This is the one that was here last, and there must have been something wrong with the paper instead of something?
I don't know.
Yeah. This passed last time. This is a federal grant,
Wait, we already, this is,
but there was a piece of, they told me there was a piece of paper missing at the council, at the council meeting or something?
last agenda.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
This one's the last one we discussed.
Yeah, there was, it got pulled off because it was missing something.
Okay. So we.
Something Gina Buon noted in one of her memos or something. And,
Like a BRC or something. Okay.
yeah, something like that. I forget exactly what it was, but.
I'm told it's fixed, but we really need to get this done because the feds are reimbursing us for this money, so if we don't buy it, we just lose it.
John McKinney was suspect of certain of the attachments that might indicate what we were buying, so those pages were removed because he was talking with Chris Kearns on Friday and couldn't get an answer, so we didn't want to indicate what we were buying for.
Last Friday?
Yeah. Or Thursday, Friday.
We're not, I find that bizarre, like, we use some of this, obviously we do covert investigations as well as overt investigations, but we have no secrets.
On the side of not putting it out there. We can give it to the council.
We're not the CIA, we have no secrets.
Well, he was looking for an answer to that question, that's what I'm...
Got it, okay.
Okay, so 10Z55, any questions? None, okay. You're done with everything, right? Okay. Yes. Oh, wait, actually, before we go on, Councilman, Paul is, which I think is part of yours, right, to chaplain program?
It's going to be under Stacy. Just interacts with us, yes.
Okay, moving on then. Councilman Yun.
Yes.
Since 2015 and 16, City of Jersey City overspent around 17 and 18 million more than what City Council approved. So my major concern is that 2018 budget, we put around $1.2 million salary adjusted. Before this City Council approved the City Council budget, already, before we approved the budget, the mayor spent almost $500,000 that they promoted, increase the pay salary for the some city employee. So not only that, so city employees, like $500,000 that he spent already, before even City Council approved the budget. So now we only $700,000 left, and based on our knowledge, they have a long-term management group, they have many years didn't get the increase. So they're gonna start increasing. But now, when I see that the police department, we have 17 deputy chief.
19 total.
Yeah, 19 total, and that's your leadership, and I don't know that much about it. As I understand, New York City have a 30 or 50,000 police officers, they have only 16 deputy chief, but we have...
That's incorrect.
That's what I'm saying, so, but you know better. But still, we compare the 800 some police officers, 17 deputy chief, that's your plan, that's your leadership. I'm not arguing with that, because you know better than anybody else. But my concern is that money-wise, okay, so now we put in a 17 deputy chief, and this year we have a lieutenant, promoted lieutenant, and the sergeant. How many sergeant was the last time?
15.
How many?
15.
15 sergeant. So all those kind of money have to come up somewhere. But as we understand, that $200,000 probably not enough to cover all those promoted uniform officers. So where the money come from? That how you manage that? If your department, the fiscal officer, we like to know, she or he have to explain to us where the fund come from now.
Yeah, we have the money in our budget, in our current account, based on unanticipated retirements.
So please, I know that just to say like this is fine, but I like to have by numbers and the chart so we understand the same page. And also, Council President, and since this the January 1st, a lot of things at the Council Caucus meeting, this council body asked certain questions, and some director, they promised to us they're going to send us the information before Wednesday council meeting so-and-so, and a lot of director has not informed us what we asked, except Brian Platt. I give you some credit, even though he's new, not familiar with a certain area, but he put in his effort, try to collect information to us. But I'm not going to say that.
Public safety, can the director?
No. So, yeah, the council. So we like to have, before this Wednesday council meeting, if we're able to provide where they're going to come from the money to.
And inside the Wednesday's council meeting, I don't believe it's on Wednesday's agenda.
Okay, fine. All right, I agree with this.
Thank you.
But soon is better, okay, please?
Some information, Director Shea, about salaries and the budget for all of that stuff, okay? All right, thank you. It's okay. Let's see. So I'll bring up Paul now then, as well, and Stacy again, who has 3D.
So as you know, earlier this year, you passed a new division of injury prevention. A part of this work collaboratively is to support anyone that is a victim of injury and or prevent it. We discussed that this aligns closely with the chaplain program, and we finally have an ordinance to define that, thanks to Nick and Paul's hard work. So Paul will explain a little bit more detail why we need an ordinance.
Good morning. So just very briefly, this program originates out of the mayor's office in response to community concerns that the city provide timely and compassionate response to people who have suffered serious traumatic events in the city, especially from violence and other things which are generate a police response. We worked hard over the past year to get really great buy-in from public safety, the police department, law, and human resources to make sure that we have a program which is follows all best practices, some of which we've had to define ourselves. And we've trained a great bunch of chaplains, and we are ready to start assisting people. The reason for an ordinance is a statutory requirement of the state, which requires that chaplains in municipal government, when they're working with police or with fire, have an enabling ordinance. And that's simply a matter of following the state law to make sure that we are doing things correctly.
You want to tell them how many chaplains we've trained and?
So we have trained about 30 chaplains, all of whom are technically waiting for final approval. So each has submitted an application, or most of those 30 have submitted applications and passed criminal background checks. We have a plan for ongoing training and evaluation to make sure that the chaplains really perform their mission, which is to care for the residents of Jersey City, and I think also more generally to help residents and the police department have a deeper set of relationships. So we hope to And we have already, in fact, created positive interactions between people who have sometimes been adversely affected by events in Jersey City, and being able to see a positive response from the chaplains and the department really takes a step forward in creating goodwill if anything happens in the future. And yes, we should also mention these are volunteer chaplains. The program is very light on costs to the city, only their training costs plus a very basic uniform of a chaplain shirt and cap.
Also, they're required a certain number of hours so that we can manage that and keep it in the data dashboard so that we can report on it to you. We've been doing the work, just not related to the police. Any kind of person that comes to us, and I think, Mira, one example is a senior, a hoarder. We'll go and send a chaplain over and support because they may or may not have a counselor or a therapist, and we're doing some general mental health first aid as a chaplain to support that. And so once we pass this ordinance, we can work closer with the police department and on some of those violence issues.
So chaplain Sosa.
How many different religious to chaplain we have to provide?
So our vision actually, we aim to have the right number of chaplains to answer the calls. So our initial crew of about 30, I expect, will produce about 20 chaplains that really seriously step up. And we'll just have to see from the first few months how often the police department calls us as per their protocol. Part of what we will be doing over the next few months is making sure that the chaplains are well introduced to the department, and the department knows when to call them, because the goal is for them to complement policing activity and not in any way to replace it.
How many different religious?
So we can provide Christians or...
Oh, yes. So we have, first of all, we would do this anyway, but it's also required in our context to be effective. We recruit from all faiths. The state statute requires that the chaplain be an ordained clergy person. We understand that to mean an authorized leader of a recognized faith community here in Jersey City. We have principally Christians, but also Muslim. We have our first Hindu chaplain, and we're working hard on our first rabbi. So we have a broad spectrum simply because that's who we encounter. I will mention too that in our upcoming training in October, we should add to that diversity by getting our first Coptic chaplain and hopefully some additional Catholic chaplains to better reflect the population of the city we serve.
Other questions? Hearing none? Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
All right, let's see, now Anicia, do you want to come on up? Anicia's here as 10Z44, which is, I believe, her appointment, right? It's a resolution.
Official welcome, Anicia, your first day as HEDC.
It's approving the appointment of Anicia Chiolone as Director of the Department of Housing, Economic Development, and Commerce. Is she officially in the role already? Are you?
Today was, that was it, so I was late, I
Did
was
he
at,
issue,
I was at the office.
since we didn't vote on it, no, not technically.
It's
I mean, I
temporary.
haven't,
Did he issue a authorization, or?
The mayor?
Yeah, he has to do some sort of.
Oh, a letter. Oh, right.
I don't
I
know.
didn't see it. Okay.
I don't know.
Okay,
I just showed up this morning and did my job.
not your concern, that was.
No, I'll take care of it.
Yep. Anicia, would you like to, congratulations on your appointment by Mayor Fulop, and the floor is yours.
Sure. Thank you, Council. I'm really excited to be taking on this role. I think in the last little over a year and a half that I've been here running the City Planning Division, I think you've seen my commitment to both you all, the mayor, the council, and most importantly, the residents of the city. And I continue to do that and plan to continue to do that in my new capacity. And I'm very interested in taking on the entire department and looking into ways to both, increase our customer service abilities, run it more efficiently, and grow the city economically to continue to, bring in revenue so that you all can fund the needs of the city. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to take them. Thank you, Council.
Congratulations, but
Tell us, and that's just congrats, that's it, really?
I have,
what, 1.5 years? And to be top of the HEDC director is amazing. It's a miracle. But let me ask you, what is your you believe the reason the mayor appoints you head of the HEDC? What do you think?
Well, I think I've shown in the time I've been here that I'm not shy in terms of my work abilities. Like, I work extremely hard, and there's no limits to what I'm willing to take on. And I am very upfront about my opinions about things, and constantly looking at ways to run the division or the department better. And I think that I hope that he saw in my capability that I could take on the entire department. I think there's just maybe a recognition of my interest in really public service and really serving the city.
And that you should be really proud of the work that you've
I mean, I'm
done.
talking about
Thank
in
you.
a short period of time, 1.5 years.
I understand
Go
that.
that far.
Sure.
It's a real miracle. It's
Well, I
not-
have a commitment to professionalism. I think anyone who's worked with me over that time knows that I am extremely dedicated to the work that I do and expect only the best from the people that work with me. And I'm excited to be able to expand that.
You just say rights. Professionalism. In other words, you make a decision, you do your job based on your knowledge.
Correct.
That require you should be not afraid to say to the mayor to say no based on your professionalism with your job. Are you willing to do that?
I do that now.
I can attest.
Good.
I
Very
understand.
good.
Yes. Yep.
She passed? Congratulations.
Thanks.
let me,
Yeah, sure.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Well deserved. You've been doing a great job in the short time at Director of Planning. Just a couple of things, and just for the record, and I know it's already on your radar, with Dinah coming on board at in the office Division of Housing Preservation. Just conveyed this to your predecessor, Marcos, the importance of that division, and obviously with the restructuring that we're looking to do around that, ensuring not just that the resources, but obviously your strength and leadership in there to be able to ensure that we're very proactive and aggressive about, I know Diana's going to do a great job there in doing that, but having your support there to make sure that we are very aggressive in enforcing some of our housing rules and rent control laws and so forth.
Absolutely.
And then we've had past conversations in this body around some of the other offices as well with regard to kind of them being understaffed, whether it be inspectors and investigators, whether it's in construction code, housing code, and so forth, as well as kind of the functionality and kind of the other offices such as commerce and economic development, and making sure that we're enacting things more effectively and efficiently around those offices as well. So just want to put those on your radar. I know that you're going to do a great job, and look forward to working with you.
So Council President, attitude is very good. Council President to bring up that issue at that meeting about the appointed director. That's usually contact the meeting. He's a very good job, that part of it. So added to that, I'm going to ask you, what is your opinion of the Uber or Lyft to control the Jersey City? Because the Uber and Lyft, I think they have some issue for the existing taxi cab, you know what I'm saying? So what is your opinion for that part of, as a head of HEDC?
Well, I mean, I think it's market-driven.
Already New York City regulates very strongly the Uber system.
Yeah, they're regulating the amount of those types of vehicles in their city. I mean, I think it's market-driven, and I think it's unfortunate what's happened to the licensed owners for the taxi cabs, but I think that it's just the nature of a competition, that we need to stay modern and we need to be able to serve what people's needs are and what their wants are. So I think that, I think we can make decisions. We can work together with the BA and the mayor if they would like, and all of you, if you'd like to enact some restrictions regarding those type of ride-sharing services like Uber or Lyft. But right now, it's very market-driven, and they offer something that the taxis aren't offering, right? They're offering the ability to call it up on your phone, and they really do help serve parts of our city that maybe are less accessible through mass transit.
So now, number two, in the Jersey City High, the Councilman Richie Bojan not here, we studied new zone parking, zone 16.2 parking zone study heights, but their policy only can help so much for the parking issue in the heights. So we mentioned today one time that maybe when the new construction come down to heights area, maybe setback regulation to change, to create more parking space, instead of the street parking, those kind of things. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I have multiple thoughts on that. What you're talking about very specifically are really those R1 regulations that we are, in the Division of City Planning, is going to be looking at citywide changes to the R1 zoning. And we're going to explore ways to incentivize more off-street parking by aggregating multiple lots together and increasing density if people will put more off-street parking. Not necessarily multiple curb cuts. We want to incentivize less curb cuts, but more off-street parking. So I do think that there are ways to do that. We need to get away from actually curb cuts for every 25-foot lots. But if larger than that, I sat here in front of you at the budget hearing my first year and heard your comments about the need to study parking. And we did secure a grant from NJTPA, and we'll be going out for the RFP for that very shortly. And we're going to do a citywide parking study as we had spoken about, and I think that will help us really understand what the real issues regarding parking are. I think everyone commonly says that there's not enough parking, but I think we need to look at it more nuanced and actually figure out what will help solve the problem rather than just increasing parking.
Okay, so now, Councilman Richie Bojan is not here, and he asked me that, this is question. And the Councilman Richie Bojan of General Square, he asked several times, almost every month, talk about the amend the General Square 2060 redevelopment plan. And as myself remember, almost he requested 3-4 years, nothing get done. So as your leadership, what is your plan to come up with some new plan to amend the General Square 2060 redevelopment plan?
Yeah, and actually, on that note, we are meeting with the New General Square Community Association tonight, so we will be discussing that with them. We actually have, in city planning, been working really hard on making amendments to that plan, and we will have, we believe, we're ready to bring the first round of those in front of Planning Board in September. So we phased those adjustments. We focused on actually working very closely with Councilman Boggiano, the amendments that the Hilltop neighborhood was looking for, and we think we found some good resolutions to that. And we anticipate that being in front of Planning Board in September, so then it would be to you all shortly after. And then we would like to make a second round of changes that have to do with more focused around the core after that.
Okay, now, the last question, I hope this is the last. And a General Square development, they have finished at the 50-story building. Now, the 60-story building is under construction. So I'd like to say this one. After they open the 50-story building in General Square, that mass transportation issue from the 190 post, 199, 119, when they come left the General Square, when they come to Central Avenue, the height post is packed. Because most people get the post from the people who live in 50-story buildings, So we expect like a 60-story after the 70-story going to build in Bell. So do you have any plan to, or give us some at least for the 190 for mass transportation.
This is the one that heads through the tunnel to New York City?
Yes.
We could certainly work with New Jersey Transit to find out if there's ability to increase service on that line. I can talk to Barca, our transportation planner, about that.
Just we pushed it to New York Transit, but some building in the downtown and the project actually provide commuter bus to water taxi area, some area they provide, even Port Liberty, they provide their own charter bus from their Port Liberty and Grove Street. So in the future, to release that, instead of just depend on New York Transit, any building the project come up, there's more than certain units, they should provide their own charter bus instead of just depend on the public, which is both the taxpayer have to pay for the cost. Do you have any plan to push them, make sure that they provide their own charter bus? I'm committing to New York City. Do you have anything?
We haven't been looking at that as a requirement. I would have to look into the legalities of our ability to require people to provide private charter buses. I don't really know if that's something we can require. We can always make requirements to payments to offset infrastructure needs, but that's a very specific request. I mean, I can look into it. I just don't know if that's really the solution.
Knows that, so come up some bright idea. So maybe present to council?
I think we've been looking at more ways to increase the public transportation network to serve everyone, whether it's the path, light rail, or the buses.
Yeah, but we cannot depend, because when the bus coming like 8 o'clock in the morning, Central Avenue, bus 119, bus is packed, they're not even stop the bus stop, just passing through the Central Avenue, go to New York City. So we face a serious mass transportation issue, high terror because of the 50-story buildings. And when you build a 60, it's going to be worse. So I like to, as a head of the HEDC, look into the matter. It's a time to now prepare the plan to some kind of a conference plan so we can release some pressure in the mass transportation high terror.
Okay, we'll look into it.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Good luck.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Alicia. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Dinah, come on up. We have Dinah Hendon. Please welcome her. She's the new Director for the Division of, what will be the Division of Housing Preservation.
Morning.
And we have an ordinance that amends and supplements Chapter 3, Article 10 of the Jersey City Municipal Code, and essentially establishes the Division of Housing Preservation and reorganizes Housing Code Enforcement and the Rent Leveling Board as well. 3E. Dinah, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Sure, thank you. First, I just want to make one correction on the ordinance that you received, and Nick will confirm that this is just, we went back and forth about offices and bureaus. It will be the Division of Housing Preservation with two offices, the Office of Housing Code Enforcement, and the second office, which on the copy that you have says Office of Rent Leveling, should read Office of Landlord/Tenant Relations, and then under that, the Bureau of Rent Leveling and the Rent Leveling Board. And then the balance of the changes are to define what this division will do, which is essentially the work that these two divisions have been doing, the Division of Housing Code Enforcement and the Division of Tenant-Landlord Relations, and then there are deletions of those two divisions in the ordinance. The thinking behind combining these two divisions, I think, is very progressive. I think it puts Jersey City on the map of municipalities that are moving forward and dealing with, predominantly in this city, landlord-tenant issues. You have 70% of the population here are renters. That's higher than it is across the state. So most of the housing code issues that we see are in buildings where there are, the owner is a landlord, and the housing code issues involve a tenant. The reason to have these divisions combined, as I've said in my memo, of course, once we're housed in the same offices, the flow of information will be even greater. But even now, just, this is the Monday of my week 4 with this, this will be week 4 with the city. I can see already that the flow of information between the two offices, we're constantly walking down the hall to report, some issue in a building that the tenant has called about, and is there a housing code violation in that building? So the crossover of information, the fact that there's buildings where there are both rent control issues and also housing code issues, it's just very, very common. It's common for a tenant who raises these issues to be worried about retaliation by their landlord. That's very common. And I think if we're all housed in one place and have one office, there will be less of that fear because we will be handling it, in a uniform way along with the new municipal prosecutor. We're all on board with this. And as I say, I think this is very progressive of the city to be looking at this.
I'm going to open it up to questions, but before I do that, I just want to correct, if this needs to be corrected further, so under 3-78B, Division of Housing Preservation starts with, and then sub-bullet A, lowercase a, it says through the Bureau of Housing Code Enforcement. I guess that's should be the Office of Housing Code Enforcement, I would assume?
Correct.
Correct? Mm-hmm. And then B should be through the Office of Rent Leveling, again? Sorry, the Office of Tenant-Landlord Relations, then,
Correct.
right? Okay. Just if you guys can, if the Law Department can make those
I'll take care of those
amendments. I'm going to open it up to questions for the council.
Yes, actually, Council President, actually, thank you for effort for this one. And this issue actually, it's a long time we discussed with Councilman James Sullivan, myself, and Council President. Also, we brought the issue to Mayor's attention, and we are happy to hear that it's about time to increase actions department. But also, the other hand, we're looking to add one more thing, is that the inspector in your department, rent leveling and house coding, we have to train them, they're able to do dual inspection, not just one item, so they can able to that housing code not only goes to one item to when you go out those kind of site, they can able to do other item to also then can able to inspect the zone. So this is very good, and it's the first step. In the future, probably we should be more centralized the housing code, rental leveling, sanitation, the health department. In other words, quality of life issue should have a centralized, someone's enforcement, so we can do that. So as I mentioned to that, if we overgrow weeds, housing code enforcement come out give ticket, sanitation come out ticket, health department the office come out ticket. One issue but 3 tickets. In this case, it's not the enforcement anymore, it's more harassing the people of Jersey City. So we think we try to more centralize, but as a first step, I'd like to thank the Council President and the Councilman James Solomon and the Mayor effort to try to package it together, really. It's a good ordinance, about time to do it. All right? Thank you. Keep the good work, right?
Other questions or comments for Dinah? I have a question for Dinah and or the Law Department. So, and we discussed this a little bit during the agenda meeting. So we've stricken out, we've restructured, and we have the Division of Housing Preservation and the Office of Housing Code Enforcement and the Office of Tenant-Landlord Relations. And we struck out all the language describing kind of rent leveling and rent leveling bureau or boards and housing code enforcement itself. Is there, I know we wanted to get this on the books so that Dinah would have a framework and a structure to do that, but just want to put on record, is it intention to to put these elements back in place or similar, or review these and put something else in place to further description of this?
I can speak to that.
Yeah.
We can, and I apologize that I didn't bring it with me, but the rent control statute, ordinance, lays out the functions of the Rent Leveling Bureau, the Rent Leveling Board, the hearing officer. So all of those functions were, in a sense, parroted here in what was, yes. And, and I think the Law Department will agree with me, when when language is parroted in one section of an ordinance and another, if it's not exactly consistent, then that's where you can have issues. So our feeling was that we would keep this, the definitions of the functions of the Bureau of Housing, of the Office of Housing Code Enforcement and the Office of Landlord-Tenant Relations, simply to enforce those other ordinances in whatever form they're in right this minute, and then down the road, because I think that there is a move afoot to look at the rent control ordinance, see whether it needs to be modified in some way, and the same thing even with the housing code, whether that needs to be updated or modified, or whatever the case may be. And then this language won't have to change because these two offices, or this division, is charged with enforcing those ordinances. So the language that you're talking about being stricken, it's someplace else in the code.
Could I get a copy of that language? Sure. It's actually in section 260, Council President, which is actually the part of the code that deals specifically with the rent leveling board and its function, the hearing officer, and all things related to it. I agree completely with Dinah. By having it parroted in one place and the other, what sometimes winds up happening is years down the road, you make a change to one, but then you don't realize it was parroted someplace else, and then now you have parts of the code that are inconsistent.
I understand.
So this is a matter of us cleaning up the code to make sure that everything makes sense, as opposed to having one thing in one place and having it somewhere else unnecessarily in a second location. So I think this actually makes it more clear, less confusing, and then when we take up the rent leveling board and functions and all the other issues regarding that in the coming months, that will handle that as a separate matter.
So what I ask for then is, and I don't need this for Wednesday, I'm going to vote to approve this on Wednesday, but the property maintenance code referenced in the second page under the Office of Housing Code Enforcement, and ordinances relating to housing in neighborhoods as may be assigned to it for the administration, and then Chapter 260 as you referenced.
Right.
Okay, any other questions, folks? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Since the members of the council, the changes that Dinah mentioned, I'll make sure that everyone has those with a change sheet for Wednesday. We're going back to different office and bureaus, and it's my mistake. I don't understand which one is higher than the other in my 4 months here, but I'm learning. So I'll fix that for all of you.
Let's see. Let's go with Drew.
You were just handed a resolution, and Drew, his office is waiting for purchasing to approve. I think the bids were just taken on Friday, Drew, or Thursday?
The bids were taken previously. I don't know if I have the exact date. We were just waiting on purchasing and some accounts to come through, so there was a little delay in the resolution from...
Let's start at the top.
Okay.
It's a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to the New Jersey Department of Transportation for the FY 2018 Transportation Alternatives Program.
This is a NJDOT grant application. We're looking to apply it to Johnston Avenue, which we already have secured 1.3, a little over 1.3 million from the NJTPA. We had this come available. We're looking to add another $1 million to the project to do a streetscape improvements there, enhance pedestrian safety, bike lane appurtenances, things of that nature, just to kind of add to that overall experience on that street, make it a little safer. It's a gateway to the state park, to Liberty State Park, and future Jersey Ave Bridge and stuff like that that's going on in that area. Yes.
Questions on this? This is, okay, hearing none. Your next item is 10Z6. It's a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Everlast Climbing Industries, Inc., doing business as Dero for the purchase and delivery of bicycle racks for the Department of Public Works, Division of Engineering, Traffic and Transportation.
This is a purchase of bike racks just for deployment throughout the city in conjunction with bump outs we've been doing. Right now, as stripe bump outs with delineators. These would be housed in those bump out areas, just to afford people more space to have their bikes and discourage people from trying to park in those spaces.
We do. Is it not included? I can send that around. So we did work with Bike JC to find a good design. They suggested this design to us. The other component of this is that you may go around the city and find lots of different types of bike racks, and what we're going to do, working with planning, is to make sure there's a standard design, a specification based on this, saying if anyone else is going to build a new development and they want to put a bike rack in, this is the one you put in. The other reason why we're doing this is the bike racks that you may see out there that we've done in the past were not the most secure. They'd fall out. They literally wouldn't stay on the ground. So these are going to be a lot more secure, a lot more durable, a lot more visually appealing. So yeah, a lot of reasons for
They're all
this.
stainless steel, so there's going to be no issue with corrosion, rusting, anything like that.
So they're going to hold a 60 bike, right?
60.
So make sure that every ward get their fair share.
Yeah, if you have places you want, this goes for any council person. If you have any location you want to put a bike rack, just let us know. We only have 60 in this batch. It goes fast, so but we'll try and get to them.
You understand the stainless steel, but they don't have the specification for the leg, size, length, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Can't you have pictures, can't you provide it for us?
Yeah. Well, I'll send to the whole council the
Yes.
specs.
It's certainly in the spec sheet. It's a post with basically a circle. Looks like the phi symbol, I guess. I thought it was phi. I don't know my Greek alphabet well. I'm sorry.
Maybe instead we need 10, maybe 5 or 4, you know what I'm saying? Because of size, because of parking situation very difficult, you know, it can have a negative impact to the height. So we like to have a size of the leg, and there's some kind of diagrams or, you know, pictures. So that's what we require, okay?
Yeah, I can definitely include that and get that to Brian.
Will they all be a standard size or?
Yeah, all standard size, color, installation as well. These take 2 each. Yeah, it's standard for bike racks, most of them. But 2 bikes can, well, you can probably fit more on them, but comfortably 2 bikes can get attached to these, each rack.
And we have more planned in our upcoming concrete contract that's out to bid. Receiving bids tomorrow. We're going to speak about it a little later. But we have another, I think, an additional 100 in that to supply by the successful contractor. This round, we just wanted to get going and get some purchase so we can start getting them out there in some of these bump outs and other places that the council wanted to get these installed.
Okay, thank you. Next item is Z28. This is a resolution authorizing a second, we did that?
No, yeah, that's right. 20 and 29 are both PJP.
Z28 is a contract amendment with Caucus, who is currently doing the oversight on the tank removal of the former check cashing site gas station. There was an increase in scope to the physical removal of tanks. There were 6 tanks that were unknown that were found with some impacted soils from a potential leak. So this is just the additional scope for Caucus to perform oversight, testing of soil and all their lab costs and everything like that. Our division, our environmental account that we have. This is potentially something we can go back to Siegel, which we have an open escrow with, to recoup the funds for this. Oh. Yeah, it'll come out of. Okay, I'll get that corrected.
Yeah.
So this environmental, what is this?
The environmental out of the Division of Engineering, our environmental account. Capital.
Capital. Was this budgeted for initially as environmental?
This was like 2017 capital, right?
Yeah, not explicitly, but, you know, we do have a cushion in there for unforeseen things that are the nature of the environmental issues.
Okay, if you could provide me with that account information as well as kind of the balance and I guess what's been spent out of that account at this point?
Not a problem, I'll provide that.
Make a note of that, Margaret. Any questions, anyone on this? Thank you. We have 10Z29, similar
Yeah,
issue.
similar, this is the closed landfill portion of that site. There was additional work requested from the NJDEP and also the EPA on the site for just the basic operations and maintenance of the site. So we're looking for a contract amendment on that, and we added a little bit to their proposal for any unforeseen. They've already gone through a couple rounds with NJDEP with comments, and so we have the base number plus the additional for any future comments from DEP or EPA. We do. This property, the overall plan was for it to be a passive park when I joined the city. Since then, a couple things have been thrown around of possibly doing a more mixed use up towards the highway and preserve the park and riverfront walkway in the western portion.
So I ask, are we talking to the redevelopment agency about these properties? Are they in the conversation on this?
There have been conversations. I know Marcos was involved with some. I'd have to catch up with Anicia and see what has transpired. I was not involved with those conversations.
I bring that up, we should, I mean, if it is gonna, if we're looking at other uses beyond the passive park and looking at redevelopment of some sort, then definitely track your expenditures so that we can, maybe whoever's acquiring this can pick up, it's part of the cost of the acquisition cost for somebody if they're picking it up, right?
Sure.
So the taxpayers don't get saddled with this. Okay, questions, anyone? No? And you had the one walk-on, which is 10Z56,
Correct.
to award of a contract to J.A. Alexander, Inc. for Martin Luther King Drive roadway and traffic signal improvements for Jersey City project number 14-005-E for the Division of Engineering, Traffic and Transportation.
So this is a long-going project we've been working on. It's federal funding, grant funding, state grant funding. I think it was brought to council a couple months ago, and we delayed it to secure approximately another $900,000 in grant funding, so we could offset costs and, you know, do a majority of it through the grants instead of city capital. Basically. So it's McAdoo to Communipol are the limits on this one. Correct.
Councilman Robinson, anything you want to say about this? And Councilperson Ridley? Yeah.
We're ready.
Does this cover part of Ward A too?
Yes.
It's the whole length, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. If no other questions, thank you, Drew.
When is this going to start?
They're going to do the concrete work would take place first. Yeah, we'll get started this fall with the concrete work, and we'll see how far we can get with what winter comes and, you know, how hard it comes. A big majority. Intersection upgrades, you know, ADA ramps. Yep. Yeah, that's all going to take place first before any final pavement is done. So that'll be the first phase of this. Will be all the corner upgrades, signal upgrades, stuff like that. You know, pedestrian safety, and then the paving we're going to see where we are, you know, later this fall, and may take place next spring, the final pavement. We did have another item I think Joe discussed with you about the concrete. Yeah, the concrete contract we're taking bids on tomorrow.
Did Joe Cunha talk to everybody about the possible walk-on? No? Okay. Then you
We're
better.
actually taking bids on it tomorrow, so there's
Opening
no...
bids, which is for the road resurfacing, essentially. So if we wait till September, essentially the delay
Yeah,
could,
the weather window. Yeah.
yeah.
Our division thought we put forth, you know, possibly in the city's best interest, if we could kind of rush this one on there and get The concrete work started similar to what I just spoke about with getting the ramps upgraded ahead of the paving. This contract would take care of all that concrete work, and then shortly after, we're going to be out to bid probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks with the road program for all the wards for street resurfacing. So this would, push this ahead of it and get us going and hopefully get some actual pavement done this year before winter sets in.
So the walkout and the concrete work is all wards for that
Yes.
one? That's the road resurfacing, is that the lists of the road resurfacing list, the same?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's everybody's
concrete work
wards,
on-
so I don't think people probably object to getting it on there to try to get the work started while the weather is still good, but I think somebody has to come in on Wednesday definitively,
Yes.
and we definitely need to have the information. You open bids when?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll definitely be available for Wednesday to
Should get it
explain everything
to
at the
us,
council meeting.
any materials to the council secretary as early as possible tomorrow, so that everybody can get that, and why you're recommending, who you're recommending, and so forth, right? Does that work?
As a background, we're looking at 2.1 to 2.2 million was our engineer's estimate. It goes hand in hand with the road resurfacing program you guys have looked at with the list of streets, just to upgrade all the corners and get those ready.
And if you could include, or in advance, even now, if, just refresh us as to what roads are going to be in this final list, so that we all know what.
So yeah, I can circulate that.
And are you going to be publishing that list as to, publicly, for everyone to know what,
Good. Yeah, I would leave that up to
I-
you, council president, if
I
you want to
request
share
that you do, if you can.
Yeah, we can do it.
Communities ask
Yeah,
for it.
We just warn that sometimes we don't get to all the roads right away, and it may take till the
Yep.
spring to finish them, but yeah, it'll sort of be like our priority next round.
Yep.
Yeah, I would want to just check with the director of purchasing as well. I don't know if that would give any kind of advantage to anyone in knowing what roads we're going to be out to bid soon
Oh, I
as
see.
far as
Yeah.
limits and quantities. They could maybe hedge, a little bit of their quantities. But I have no problem publishing it as long as he's okay with that.
Well, we could definitely talk about the timing, if it's releasing that information. Okay, anything else on that? Hearing none, thank you, Drew.
Thank you.
Brian, do you want to take a shot at this? Brian Weller has several items as well, 10Z7, 10Z30, 10Z31, 10Z47. Yep. 10Z7 is authorizing the award of a contract to Spartan Construction for 394 Central Avenue, new fire escape and masonry repairs, project number 2017-010 for the Division of Architecture. Brian, you want to take that away?
Absolutely. This is, I think we've spoken about this before. It's 394 Central Avenue, masonry repairs on the fire escape. It's been publicly bid, and we're going with the lowest responsible bidder, Spartan Construction. Based on our research, they were found to be favorable of this similar type projects, and so I recommend going ahead so we can get this done before the winter weather sets in. The entire building envelope.
A side of the building?
Yes. Yep.
And where's the fire escape located? I was trying to look it up on the Google Maps, but I didn't really.
Well, it's going to tie in to the existing fire escape to get up to the 4th floor for emergency egress. So it's kind of between, it's on the parking lot side, between the post office and the building.
So, Council President, can I ask?
Yes. Okay, they have four vendors actually participating. The lowest vendor is Semco Metals, is $610,000. The other one is Adamo Brothers Construction, $872,000. But this both companies reject. Can you explain to us, this council, why you reject the two companies?
I'd love to accept that Division of Purchasing handles the acceptance of the bids, and it was actually paperwork reasons why the bids were rejected. Paperwork reasons? Yeah, so Division of... Correct.
Can we get specifically?
That is so, well, that's not you, we can ask the BA, but purchasing should provide us.
Purchasing
Yeah.
provide you, yeah.
A memo, send it to Margaret, and she'll get it out to the council.
Okay.
You know, so we don't want to get this company filed also against the city of Jersey because of that, you know. So good to have that, why the bid is reject, you know, so we can share all the information, right? Because the price.
Non-responsive, but can we get an explanation for that? The non-responsive? They say two which were non-responsive and therefore rejected.
Well, again, that would pull back to a division of purchasing. You know, sometimes bidders have 24 hours to provide documents, and if they don't, sometimes they'll consider them non-responsive.
Yeah, just clarify what.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Well, now, another question is contract term is 180 days after contract's award. 110 means 6 months. So what is now? Now is August, right? So August, so the 6 months of next year, February, right?
Yes.
Approximately. You guys not able to study work. February, especially outside, pointing the bridges, so and so.
Well, actually, there's still quite a bit of good weather available this year, and we'd like to get as much done as we can because the exterior masonry is deteriorating rapidly. So we'll go as far as we can, as long as the weather allows, and then we'll have to stop the clock. And also, I just wanted to let council know that, you know, our
After award?
Yes, yes.
6 months.
Our consultant that
But
we're
6
working-
months, you understand, right? See, August is gone. We gotta give to them preparation time, how many, 30 days?
To get permits and whatnot, probably,
Yeah,
yes.
30 days or so. And middle of the September, in other words, end of September, October, probably, let's say November. 2 months is the maximum to do work, exterior work. Fire escaping have to be installed at the point of the wall. In the outside temperature, I think I'm not allowed to do.
When the weather gets bad, we will stop the clock for the contractor.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not like we're going to be encouraging the contractor to do work when he's not supposed to be. We hold him to the specifications. So that just means we'll have to stop the clock and pick it back up when the weather conditions improve. There's just no way around it. But I also want to point out that according to our consultant and our own budget estimating, everybody came in under our budget of $1 million. So we're really happy with the response, regardless of the fact that the two were rejected. I think it's a good idea to move forward, because if we had to stop this and rebid, we probably wouldn't see these numbers again.
Okay.
10Z30.
10Z30, it's a resolution ratifying a professional services agreement with Mott McDonald LLC in connection with structural design and construction administration services for emergency concrete floor replacement at the Maureen Collier Senior Center, 335 Bergen Avenue. Project number 2018-002 for the Division of Architecture.
Yeah, Council, I'm sure some of you are aware the Maureen Collier Center was declared an emergency based on a few items. It turns out there's broken sewer pipe, water pipe, severe undermining that we've since found as we're proceeding with this work. We're trying to get everything rectified so that we can get it open back up. And also, we're trying to coordinate with the DPW to look at the roof, because there are some roof leaks in the area. And since the building is vacated right now would be a great time.
Well, it's vacated because of the problems.
Yes, the problems that we're working on, yes.
Questions?
Is there a timeline?
I knew that question was going to come up. You know, anytime you get into repairs that are kind of unforeseen, at this point, the contractor is pretty much on schedule with the original estimated work, but there are a few things that were unforeseen, and it's a lot of handwork because it's actually inside a building. It's very difficult to get machinery in there, so it's a lot of handwork. I would like to say that in September, we should be able to allow the seniors back in. The biggest setback right now is the concrete structural floor needs 28 days before we can start putting the finishes on them. So we may have to look at a slow release, entrance, maybe slowly let them back in. We're going to have to play that one by ear at this point. But basically within a month to a month and a half from now. Yes, yes.
Other questions? Okay. And then you got 10Z47. It's the award of a professional services contract to Netta Architects in connection with schematic design, development, construction documents, and construction administration services for Engine Company 10, new firehouse project number 2018-004 for the Division of Architecture.
As you're all aware, this is one of the mayor's priorities and the fire department because it's to replace the engine 10 that we started to look at rehabilitating, but it was cost prohibitive. So we since have been working with engineering to do preliminary assessment, site survey, so that we can go with this architect who has been vetted to do a very fast turnaround for us. And we're looking to get this new firehouse up and running as soon as possible.
Council members, questions? Councilman Yun?
Yeah. We set aside a construction money, right, fund, right?
Yes, we have the money for this engine.
How much was it? I forgot. 4 million, right?
This copy is 500,000, never mind. He said 4 million.
I'm thinking that that's the total cost that the mayor recommended we could do this project for. And I should say, and the previous BA.
So it's a set aside, right?
Yes.
So now let me ask you this one, because this is a very interesting field to myself. Can't you give me a definition of construction administration? And tell me what's the difference between construction administration or construction manager? How are they different?
Okay, construction administration is basically handled by the architect of record so that they can review all the submittals for all of the documents that they need for construction. Okay, so there's an architect of record that's signing off on all of this.
Okay, now, construction administration. Yeah, can you say one more time?
The architect of record who we're paying and is the architect, licensed architect who's signing off on the entire project needs to make sure that things are inspected and verified that what is being built is to his standard.
So in other words, construction administration, when we make a contract for $498,000.
And that's why it includes that.
Yeah, they include overseeing that the total construction till that occupancy.
Through construction.
Yeah, through the construction occupancy, right. So now, one of the things is Z22, Z20, '22 and 23. No, not this one. So somewhere here, no, somewhere here. So one of the company, we hired the consulting company, and the city canceled that project, and we bring back, and we gonna be cost something like that. See, because you're the right person to answer to us. I think it's not only my question. Okay, here you go. Z31.
Are we done with Z47?
Yeah, there's a 47, so.
Okay, any
no.
questions, anything else?
No.
Okay. So Z31.
31,
Councilman is moving
that's
to.
your part of it, actually.
What is Z31?
So now Z31, City of Jersey hired, Brian, can you
Yes.
explain to us? Instead I do.
Okay, the Goldstein Partnership was originally retained several years ago to design the City Hall basement improvements.
Yes.
Okay? And it went to, I don't know, somewhere around 90%, and then the project was stopped by the previous administration, I believe, if I remember correctly. It just got stopped. So now I was instructed to talk to Goldstein Partnership because the administration would like to finish the basement back out, and in doing so has increased the scope of work. So Goldstein Partnerships already has all of this information. You know, they've already vetted, you know, they have to come back out and re-verify, but it makes most sense to proceed with the architect that's already done most of the plans.
So, the 2014 City of Jersey, the hired consulting company that the professional service paid $66,000. Okay, so improvement so. So what kind of improvement they made in the basement?
Well, that was just for the design. No improvements have been made to the basement.
Thank you very much. That's my concern. Business doesn't, you gotta remember what I say, because this is one of the cases of how we waste the taxpayers' dollars. Because when we make contract with a professional service, $66,000, they include the plan, design, so on, include construction management or service, which is they supposed to oversee that all the renovation till end. Even though we don't do anything, the professional service, even though they not provide service for overseeing the construction work, we pay most of the dollar already. Because of that, we make a contract with by Tom. Now, that's why I'm so upset at the law department. I bring up the concern, why you're not here, you're lucky. We hired professional service to build a one firehouse, whatever they call.
The last meeting.
In the last meeting, we make a contract $600,000, which is not even, we set aside the funding to build the building. We just hired a consulting company and we print the contract to Tom 3 years. So we're gonna be paid the company the way he said, even though they not provide construction service. Because of Tom, we gotta pay $600,000. When I bring up the issue, our law department, corporation counsel, he's gonna look into the matter. He's gonna amend that place to bring up the city council chamber last council meeting. We are the only two council person, Councilman James Solomon. I'm the only one saying no. Rest of council person yes. And not only that, he is not even provide definition of Tom. This is insulting about taxpayer of Jersey City. I think that corporate council says something about this matter, really. We're gonna have a same problem like this. Why we cannot stop those kind of issue, the problem. So $600,000, we pay for that, include construction service and management service, but 3 years of Tom. 3 years later, maybe we find some funding for the bill because the construction cost almost $20 million. This is insulting, and especially I depend on the corporation counsel. He provided us some definition of Tom, and at the time he wasn't here. Our deputy business administrator, we only pay the consulting company based on performance their job, they provide the job. But because of term of contract, even though we not do the job, the work, we gotta pay for that. And those kind of things I showed past 5 years. We still do the same mistake over and over again.
Can I just say two things?
Okay, good.
One, in the contracts where the professional services are terminated, they're not paid the entire lump sum. Okay, so when we stop them, they're done. So they're not entitled to their lump sum. In architecture's case of point, when I terminate a project, that's it. They don't get paid the full amount. So we return that money back, In this case, when the basement job wasn't completed, Goldstein didn't get his full amount of money. The job was stopped. Okay? And then also, number two is, if a construction project does run overtime, we do have liquidated damages built into the contract, courtesy of the law department and the city's front end that's been used for decades. And that basically should cover the fees incurred by the architect being extended, as well as any other inspections or any other items. So that liquidated damages is there and it is enforced.
Council at the Business Hospital, actually 2014, at the end of the 2013, as a council president here, we discussed them matters. So me, myself, Councilman Daniel Rivera, and the purchase department and the law department, we had several meetings. You know, how we gonna limit this same problem over and over again? Because even the West Police Station, we under construction, because of legal issue, we stopped that, and when they're ready to go on, because of the professional service contract is expired, we gotta pay extra fee, even though they not provide the service. So what happened, this is the case, $600,000, 3 years term, because of a delay of that actual construction happened, because outside the problem, because we not funding for that. $600,000 include construction service management, but they can claim that because the contract is always term, they're going to ask extra fee for the extra period of time. So we should be limited that problem, and we should start adjust a certain way. We only can pay based on that whatever the job is, like a bank loan. You know, when you give the bank to pay project finance, they only pay money based on how much you accomplish that your work.
It seems like a lot of your, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of your concerns are addressed in architecture contracts, but what we'll do is we'll circle up and make sure that this is standardized and not something that can happen.
Don't make the same mistake again.
Sure. Yep.
So how is that with these two items?
So these,
So we don't have a fiasco with
yeah, if we don't go to
the
construction, then we don't pay them for.
Well, we have to pay, this is a professional service, so we do pay them for what they do. If we, the city, terminate them, that's all we can do is stop them, you know? I'm not gonna write them a check for this total amount until the project's ready to go out to bid.
As I said, we pay $60,000, which is included construction management, construction service.
So
something makes sure that.
As an example, if we were to stop this project before it went to construction, that portion of their fee, they would not be entitled to.
Okay.
We would terminate the contract before that.
Okay, so then print the contract, you know what I'm saying? Print the contract. So if they provide the service, we shouldn't be paid for that.
So you would rather in future RFPs not include that in the RFP. Handle that at a later date.
So then you gotta speak with the law department or purchase department. We put the RFP or RFQ, we gotta put that provision in the paper, so we don't have to pay the dollars of the something they not even provide the service to us. We got the same page, right?
We can do that.
Thank you very much. I think you should be more close to work with the law department.
No problem.
Okay?
So what's happening with this?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
We have monies in the, set aside the money for this improvement, that's the key. We just have this is the two different, we just have money for the hired professional service company, find out, you know, what do they call that, service, and do we have a really dollar for construction cost of the fund?
What's the outcome you want for these two?
So it's very simple. We're going to hire the company $60,000, $70-some thousand, but when they finish that architecture plan, do we really have a set aside the money to go actual construction? That's the key.
Well,
if you have that not money set aside actual construction, then we should be doing this service not now.
we need to to go through some of the planning process to understand a better idea of what the cost is going to be. By the time that this is all complete, we'll probably be thinking about the next round of capital budget in end of 2019 or so, maybe 2020. So that's where we're going to talk about funding for this.
So this is what I'm saying. Then we don't have to be rushed to go hire professional service. As you know, professional service company provide plan, design, architecture, specification, not more than 6 months, you know what I'm saying, because size of this kind of the project. So now then, 6 months then we, whatever business automation plan to set aside the construction cost, let's say 2020, then probably we should be do this kind of service contract 2019, maybe June. Or end of the 2019, so when they prepare all those things, we know exactly how much cost will be. So 2020, when we issue capital a bond, we not print that they are close to numbers to the market. You know what I'm saying? Instead we print this much, and I think I'm so upset with the JCMUA. They project to spend like $20 million, and now guys are $40 million. I say, you guys just approve that, and you don't know how much you spend it?
Councilman, do you want this on the agenda? Or
Yeah, I think I withdraw till business automation should find out dollar, actually.
All right, we'll take that into consideration.
Yes, please, okay? Because we put the term is 2 years.
31, do you want withdrawn?
But if you find out dollar source funding, then we can bring up to Wednesday, you know what I'm saying? But other than that, we shouldn't do that.
Okay. So 31, you're asking to withdraw unless you find the funding source?
Yes.
47, you were fine with?
Yes.
Okay.
We got no choice.
Great. Let's move forward.
Okay.
That's it?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So folks have been very patient. I'm going to just run through. This is order from here on the rest of the way. Kate, then Jeremy. What's that?
When you communicate with Corporation Council regarding for that issue, I'd like to be a part of that conversation, okay? Good, thank you.
Sorry. Kate, then Jeremy, then Andrew, then Matt and Lindsay. Matt, do you also have all the second reading ordinances? All those Morris Canal stuff and Enos Jones? Yeah. Okay. And then after Matt and Lindsay, there was one other, not just Mark, Park Mobile, and then Mark. Okay. Kate has 10X and 10Z18.
First one, 10X.
10X is authorizing the award of a competitively bid contract to LilyPad EV LLC for providing car charging stations and electrical vehicle service equipment.
Resolution,
Yes.
and you have a new letter by the business administrator.
Yes, a new addendum to the memorandum from previously, with additional information to answer the questions that were brought up by the council members at the last meeting. Sure. So the last time that we spoke about this, I know that there were some questions about some elements of the contract. One particular question was regarding the charging for the public, to make sure that it would be charging for all of the energy or all of the electricity that was being used. And we did confirm with the vendor that all of the electric costs for a public charging would go to the customer and would not be borne by the city. And we have two different options for the way that we can format that, either charging per kilowatt hour or setting rate by time, that we can decide which one to take after we enter the contract. However, both options or both methods allow us to charge for the full cost of the electricity, even with the rate scheme that, or the rate setup that is in the contract. Another question that the council members brought up was regarding if the chargers would be public, where they would go, and that there was some concern about having them be public throughout the city at this time, or making whether or not they were needed. So for this contract for the first year, we've decided to prioritize charging for city vehicles and city lots, and have some public charging stations, but have most of them be for city vehicles. And so the idea was to have a public charging station in the Heights, and then have the rest of the charging stations between 4 and 6 to be primarily for city vehicles, and they would be located 2 at City Hall, 1 to 2 charging stations at Jackson Square on MLK, and 1 to 2 would be in the Heights, 1 public and 1 private. I did reach out to Councilman Yoon and to David Diaz of the Central Avenue Business District, or Special Improvement District, to get information on where those charging stations might be located. And so I have, in the memo that I distributed, I have more information on that. So we would be finalizing that based on how much it would cost to put the charging infrastructure in place based on distance from the vehicle, and whether or not that lot will be available for the next couple of years, or whether those locations would be the best bet.
Can I ask?
Are you done?
Yes.
So electric charger system installed in the citywide as a long-term investment.
Yes.
I support you 100%. But which way we do that, as a council person, I'm not myself, but everybody's the same things. What is the cost to us, a taxpayer? So give me your first things, definition of user fee.
The user fee?
Yes, so now, if we're not sure that the user fee, I'm going to show to that the how you calculate user fee. I'm pretty sure when you say user fee means cost of electric plus business operation expensive, or internet connection, whatever, plus some profit equal profit, that's called user fee, correct?
Can.
Yeah, that's what have to be. If we have a no profit involved, then taxpayer subsidizing electric motor vehicle owner. You know what I'm saying? So, cost of electric plus business operation plus profit called the user fee. All right, so fine. So now, city side, how are we gonna be without taxpayer subsidized electric charging system, how we can encourage electric motor vehicle, more motor vehicle in Jersey City. So now, if we see that 90% of user fee come to the Jersey City, 100% of advertising come to Jersey City, this total actually larger than total cost of electric and a business expensive. If this one not larger than this one, then we as a taxpayer will be subsidized. So look into that matters. When you calculate user fee, have to do right. But now next question is that we're gonna spend over the 2 years almost $150,000. And the first year plan to try to encourage City of Jersey electric vehicle use charging station. Now, let me ask you this one. How many electric vehicle City of Jersey is using now?
0.
0. So then, if I'm you, instead I put you 150 at the 60,000 this year, next year 76,000 this year. Instead to do that, most of city vehicle park the car, DPW was City Hall. Then as a pilot program,
put your toothpaste first. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So if we put your toothpaste first, we don't need $76,000.
You're saying we should install those two locations only at first? Yep, sure. Yep.
So instead of we spend over the 2 years, $150,000, maybe we spend $20,000, you know what I'm saying? Let's study that side. Let's use a city electric vehicle to do the, and you know that if a city vehicle change to electric, it's not simple the way you think. Because our mechanic, serviceman, repairman, at the different level of skills required. You know what I'm saying? But outside the purchase electric motor vehicle and ours that the shop not able to maintain, then it's a different story. You know what I'm saying? Also, not only that, most electric vehicle today's provide the service by dealer. So when you purchase the electric vehicle, we should come up at least 4 or 5 years warranty bump to bump. Other than that, they got us, whatever they call the numbers, we gotta pay for that. So my strong recommendation, instead to spend $150,000 last 2 years, let's print that there, 2 places. DPW, behind the city wall, already, Jersey City has a 2-place electric charge system, one behind the city hall that they're parking lot, another one is a First Street, they have an electric charging system. Let them, general public, use it. If you go to City of Jersey, use the electric charging system, then put in the 2 places first before we plot 6 in other area. I think that's smart, okay? You understand, right? I like the Brian because he's smart.
Yeah,
agreeing to that?
We'll start in those locations. Yeah, sure. We've also discussed separately with DPW Automotive with regards to purchasing electric vehicles. As you saw in the capital budget, there were a lot of vehicles listed there for us to replace through capital funds. We've already started to have those discussions about choosing electric versus gasoline power. So
now, it's a technology change. So every 6 months you see. If we print this one, when the market we looking for electric charging system, whatever we have maybe is old to use it. So instead to use it, $150,000, 76, maybe use it, adjust the numbers, maybe $20,000 this year, maybe next year $20,000, just to install 2 places first.
I will also say, though, that we've been working on grant funding for some of these, so we may install more using grant dollars, not the capital dollars.
Right,
So,
whatever you're able to save some dollars.
Yeah, sure.
But instead to put you in the electric charging system, sanctuary somewhere, you will be put somewhere, Jonas somewhere, something nobody uses, but space reserved, take a parking, street parking space, general public, I don't think pension are not going to happen with that. So please. All right?
So let me just get clear, so 90% of revenue from user fees and 100% of all advertising revenue. So the other 10% is going to LilyPad?
that's the fee that they take off of the whatever fee we choose to charge, they get 10%.
Yeah, but it doesn't go to the LilyPad, it goes to ChargePoint. ChargePoint is the company that runs most of the charging stations that you see in the country, and that's their fee for basically making sure that they're all connected within the network.
Do we have projections on what kind of revenue we'll see?
No.
See, Council President?
Yeah.
The point are very good.
So the
Because
revenue,
the collector bring up the ad dollars in City of Jersey City, the company is not responsible. City of Jersey go out to find out sponsor for ad. And who's going to handle it? I mean,
Yeah, we don't. Well, what we've done with other companies that have advertising as a part of their contracts, like the waste receptacles and the kiosks that are coming out soon, we've told them to prioritize local small businesses, and what we could do is offer it as through our Office of Small Business Services. If you want to advertise for something, here's a place to do it. We haven't quite gotten down that far yet. The advertising is not the priority here. So we're not putting these out to make money necessarily off of ads, but it'll be a nice side thing if we can get it to work.
So
What are we gonna do? You're gonna put in the $76,000 in the budget, or we're gonna do maybe 2020?
So the contract is for up to.
It's open-ended, so
Oh,
we
up to-
we can do 2 tomorrow and then wait 2 years and do 1 more. We can do it over time. Yeah.
But, right. Is that all the questions regarding that?
Okay.
The other item is regarding the contract with Gable. So Gable Associates,
C-18. So resolution authorizing the City of Jersey City to enter into a contract with Gable Associates to assist with an energy savings improvement plan through the ACES Plus Cooperative Purchasing Program.
so Gable is a member of the ACES Plus Cooperative Purchasing, they're part of that program, and we have already, we are using them as part of the solar installation at the DPW building. And that's why we don't have to go out to bid for the specific contract, plus it's under the amount that would be the threshold. This contract is a $17,000 contract, and we're asking Gable Associates to go through the 26 building audits that were done in 2016, presented to the city in 2017, and to figure out the plan to go forward for energy efficiency improvements to city buildings. So what we expect is that the recommendation will be many of the projects are going to go through the Energy Savings Improvement Program through the state. But we are not quite sure about whether or not all of the items that were found within the energy audits should go forward at the same time, if they should be phased in, whether or not they should all go through the ESIP, Energy Savings Improvement Program, or whether some of them should be taken on by the city itself, or some should be taken on through the direct install program, through the clean energy program. So what we expect to get out of this contract, which is fairly short, it should just take a few months, maybe 2 months, is to get a clear path forward for our next steps. We can present it to council and state that these are the next steps that we'll be taking through the ESIP program. This is the amount of financing we're going to be looking for through the ESIP program to do the energy efficiency improvement programs, what the cost will be, what the expected savings will be, and figuring out all of those steps so that we can proceed as quickly as possible to make our buildings more energy efficient.
I think we did this one. Year ago.
We've done other.
We called it the energy.
What did we do? I can't remember exactly what we did. We've
done
done.
energy audits.
Yeah.
So 26 energy audits, right? So the energy audits are ASHRAE level 1 audits, so they're the most basic level. So you do those with the buildings, they go through, they sort of figure out, okay, generally this is what you could do in these buildings. They don't say what the next steps are. There's so many different initiatives that could be undertaken, and they're not to the level where we're really ready to figure out how much they'll cost. They're just very broad estimates with an ASHRAE level 1. There are usually many steps. The ESIP process can take several years.
Just go very clear, I can say that. ESIP just hire the consulting company, step 1, step 2, step 3. Every time we do that, 15,000, 17,000, we don't want to spend the money like that. Tell us total steps, how many total steps we have went, how much it total cost. You gotta say clear. Other than that, after finishing step 2, now you're gonna come to step 3, and another one. No, come on.
Why can't we do this in-house?
We don't have the capacity in-house to do this.
Why, especially with energy savings, and I'm not familiar with the audits that happen for us here, why wouldn't we pay them based on some degree of the savings?
That happens through the ESIP process, right? But this is the first step. So usually the way that they can set up the contract is that for all of the additional services, it gets wrapped up into the ESIP process so that the cost of those services are paid through the projected energy savings. But this first step is really just sort of figuring out, laying the groundwork for how the whole thing will proceed. It's a very small portion of the estimated cost.
Yeah, I understand it's not a huge figure, but I think a little bit to the councilman's point, if we've already done an audit, we have this ESIP program, an extra spend to, I guess, I guess I'm concerned about all the different spending that we're doing, and this is just another addition to that.
So this particular contract is meant to actually get this going. It's been waiting for a while, and so basically we don't have the capacity in-house. If we went through the ESIP process directly, we'd have to go through a whole contracting piece that we would have to then get help in doing that procurement. So we basically, the city doesn't have the capability to start an ESIP process on its own.
I mean,
You sometimes can wrap these costs into the end product, but this particular fee, it would end up being paid for by the state.
I'm not talking about the fee. 2016, when we hired consulting professional service to audit, energy audit in the city, all the buildings. So then now, my next question, where is the report? At the time, Bob Kay, very clearly say that through that audit, we know that how we can save electric, and we will know how much we can save by dollar wise, and they're gonna come up plan how they can save electric. But we didn't see anything, any report for the first audit. Now you're gonna go to second step to audit? Come on.
There were two energy savings studies, I recall.
Yes, you remember
So
that,
the
right?
first one, and then we did the second one, and it was like, well, the first one didn't really generate the kind of results we were looking for and so forth. And we just kind of scrapped it, right? So I think that's part of my concern is that.
So what are we going to get out from the?
That's why I'm trying to push this. Because in the past, we've done audits and we've let them stay there and we haven't done anything with them.
Copies of both to the council. I don't actually remember.
Each one is 100 pages and there's 26 of them.
Right.
26
It's gotta be
audits?
a summary of findings or
Yes.
executive summary of some
At
sort.
level one.
It's $17,000.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money, but compared to our budget, it's nothing. But it's not a matter of the money. We talk about matter of the principle. Because in 2016, when we hired a consulting company, very clear through that professional service, we will know how much we can save, what we have to improve. So we feel comfortable, city council willing to spend those kind of dollars to get something out of that. Till today, we not even get the one report. Now we come out, that was a step one, very limited. We don't even know what we accomplished from the professional service, the first step. Sure. And the second step, we're going to spend the $17,000. And now my question is that what we're going to accomplish by second step of audit. So do me a favor. We support it, you know what I'm saying, because energy savings is a major part of it. We don't have to waste it. But withdraw, come out, report to this council. First, the professional service, what we accomplished based on whatever is missing. This company have to provide some parts of what we're missing from the first audit.
Sure. Yeah.
That's the right way, so I strongly recommend it. This is not urgent item. Withdraw, provide us more information to City Council. Even though we spend the $17,000, we make our City Council feel comfortable, invest the $17,000.
Support his call for that. I have a lot of faith in you, Kate, so I think but just knowing kind of that first study that was done, we'd like to see the audits and things like that to see kind of what direction we're going here with this, and I'm sure we'll be able to get this back on. Okay?
Yes, so the ESIP is the Energy Savings Improvement Program. It's through the state of New Jersey, and it was created in 2009. Basically, it's a way to finance implementation of energy savings, and it takes the cost of the energy savings and it puts them into the life of the project and offsets those costs with the energy savings. So the city ended up not having to pay anything up front. So basically, most of these involve figuring out the first piece, which is what is being proposed, and they do everything at once sometimes, or they do it in pieces like this, basically just to get the process started to figuring out whether or not we're going to be doing it all in-house, or if we were doing it all through an energy savings company, or if we're going to be doing a hybrid of those things. That's what this was supposed to figure out, because you have 26 buildings, you have audits of all of those buildings, you have dozens of measures that are outlined, ones that the city basically can't take on by itself. So figuring out which ones of those measures that have been outlined should be taken through this program or which should be done through other programs is sort of a difficult task, and where most cities and municipalities do hire consultants to do this. Also, the original audits were through the local government energy audit program. So as far as as I know, that there was no cost to the city.
There was a cost for that first.
Okay. I think they were both through the local government energy program. And they're basically, that program has been considered by some to just be the very, very first step in the pond to sort of identify broad goals. Usually there's an ASHRAE Level 1, an ASHRAE Level 2, and an ASHRAE Level 3 before any ESIP programs goes into place.
Council President, every council member support things in a location about it. So, but just provide information, if we're able to do that, with the condition, Council President, maybe with the condition, if we provide first audit information, then go on with this Wednesday. If we're not able to provide the information about the first audit, then voluntarily withdraw, to support your lot of effort,
Which information you would like? All of the audits?
Just the last two.
Yeah, we want to know what we accomplished.
Do you want all of the audits? Because I can maybe send them to you in a Google Doc or a zip drive, because it's enormous.
We'll talk about it, yeah. We'll talk about it.
So if you cannot provide information till next Wednesday, all in the morning, then you voluntarily withdraw to provide. If we're able to provide that we can have a same page with the issue, then we'll go on, okay?
Jeremy outside?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right?
Jeremy?
Because we keep spending money, we got nothing.
And then, okay, got it. Mary had to go, but we don't need her.
Yeah,
I did the presentation.
I said,
Do you want me to check
I'd have to stick
tomorrow?
around. He's not here?
Jeremy?
Oh, no. Mark's still at the little while.
Oh, Mark has meeting. He'll be back around 1:30. It's probably.
Okay, council members, we have Jeremy Farrell, the Executive Director for Municipal Utilities Authority. He's here for 10Z 52, which is a resolution authorizing a bulk.
49 first, 49, 50, and then 52.
Okay. Those are written down here, but 49, 50.
Those are the bulk water, but I wasn't planning to discuss them if you have any questions.
They're fairly self-explanatory.
All right, we'll take these two. 1049, Z49 and Z50. They're bulk water agreements allowing the MUA to sell and deliver 128 million gallons of water per year from the city's water system to the township of Montville. And the other one is same thing, to sell and deliver 1587.75 million gallons of water per year from the city's water system to Suez. Okay, so one is to Suez, the other is to the township of Montville. Any questions about that? Council, Solomon?
The rates? I didn't see them, but first time I'm looking at these before.
It's 2248 per million gallons.
And that's set by us, but we are going to be doing a rate study to look at that to make sure that that's the appropriate price.
James Allen print out very good. When I read the contract, the rate is, they say that retail rate, the pace.
Just to get started, before you go, Councilman, I just want to introduce the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Rich Haydes, our senior engineer. We have our CFO, John Folk, and we have our general counsel, or a representative from our general counsel, Matt. So we have the full team here for you guys.
Okay, so now, Councilman James Allen mentioned to that, if we see the contract page 2, all the way bottom.
What are we looking at? Z49, Z50?
G49.
49, page 2, okay.
Yes, page 2 all the way down, the rate, retail rate, the water service charge applied per 100 100 cubic feet of the water to customer within Jersey City area. What that means, I couldn't understand.
2248 was quoted? Yeah, that's.
Bulk rate is 2248 per million gallons.
So what I think you're asking us is we draft the contract so the rate is incorporated by reference, and then we set the rate annually through our board, and it applies to all of our bulk water agreements. Is that what you're asking? Why it doesn't specify the exact rate in the contract? Yeah, because it's incorporated by reference. We have one bulk rate for all of our bulk purchasers, and it's set by the board, and so it's incorporated by reference to all of our agreements.
We sell the water to Montville. We're gonna charge a retailer, which can be changed based on board decide. With their price, that the water supply, the city of Jersey, how's their price? The rate is the same or different?
When they sell it to their ratepayers? Right. So we don't, our rate isn't reflective necessarily on what they charge. We go through a rate study process, and we have to go through a process prescribed by the state, and then based on that process, that's how we set our rate.
So our rate is cheaper than sell like a Montville or funny.
I'm sure Montville has a markup on our rate, if that's what you're asking, of course. Yeah.
Our rate is cheaper than they are, right?
Of course. They have to do a lot. We provide them the water, and then the water goes into their system. But they still have to build out a whole system to get it to their individual users, so they're gonna have to charge for that. You understand?
So what I wanna know, City of Jersey water, we pay cheaper price than other towns pay, yes?
Yes.
What kind of percentage we are lower than there, what we charge, I mean, the price?
How much more are they charging their end user for water than ours?
Yes, I mean, our price. How much we cheaper than what we sell at the Montville other town?
Are you saying the bulk rate for Jersey City versus the bulk rate for
Yeah.
Montville? Or
Yeah.
the-
Are you saying our bulk rate versus what we charge our individual ratepayers? Yeah. Well, what do we charge our individual ratepayers?
About $4 a 100 CCS.
$4 100 CCS. Go ahead, man. That's okay.
So, I don't really understand the question, I'm sorry.
So now, what I want to know. First, number one, City of Jersey own reservoir.
Yes.
Okay, so as a taxpayer, so that the water is like a CCF, whatever they call, CCF, one CCF price for Jersey City, what we pay, and the one CCF price for Montville, of Funny or Caucus, price comparison. We cheaper than there, or it's the same price?
We sell the water to Montville at a bulk rate, and that's less than our retail rate, but they have to mark it up to their
users.
The bulk rate is calculated with a study. I mean, we can't just charge legally. We just can't charge whatever we want. A study of the costs is done, and that's how the bulk rate is determined.
Let me ask you a different way. And the user, as we use city water, what I pay for one CCF price, what they for CCF, the one CCF for Caucus region, what price, as a price compare, we are cheaper than there?
Okay, I don't know for Montville, but I do know for like Caucus, their rate is higher than ours. Okay? What's that?
Higher than ours.
About 10%.
10%. So because of the City of Jersey own the reservoir, so we pay water bill 10% less than.
No, it's not because we own a reservoir necessarily. It's that helps, but it's also because the guys in our system do a great job. We provide a very efficient system. We work very hard to control costs, and so all of that builds into us being able to charge a slightly lower rate than other people. Oh, exactly, right.
So another question is that this is a major, our concern is the taxpayers. Water bill is a part of that backdoor tax. We know that, everybody, So because whatever profit left over, as you know, as when you as corporate counsel, City of Jersey tapping around $40 million surplus from the JCMUA. We get the money, we put you $40 million over the years, put you our general fund.
So what I would say to you on that, first, I just want to call everyone's attention, there's a third bulk water agreement on Z52. Same thing, it's another sale to Suez. Basically, one is for Hoboken and one's for Suez's overflow use, and then we have Montvale. So there are 3 bulk water contracts on here, which I just wanted to make sure the council has all 3. But as far as the tax issue, I think what you're going to like about how we do this is it's really not a tax, right? Because we have a lot of people that pay for water in this city that don't live in this city. That's why we always are clear that we're talking about ratepayers. Because if you're a corporate user, one of the big companies here, and you don't live in Jersey City, but you have your building here, you're paying us for the water you use. So it's actually very important that we bifurcate the funds to make sure that we're capturing the true users. And your use is what's going to partly dictate how much you pay. So it's not the same as other taxes where it's going to necessarily be on your property value or your income or other taxes. Here, your use is going to be the rate and the use together meet your obligation. And so for a Jersey City ratepayer, right, if you are a big water user, then you're going to pay more. If you're a little water user, you're not going to pay as much, which is kind of nice. Also, you're going to want to understand when we're talking about water rates, the biggest quantifier that goes into how we set our rate, as John Folk alluded to, is our costs, right? So, yes, we do pay a franchise fee to Jersey City because you guys are truly the owners of the reservoir. And we're just paying you guys a fee to let us control and use this reservoir. And then we plus in what it costs for us to bring the water to town, to clean the water, to inspect the water, and then to make sure that all of our systems are in place. And that's the cost factor to our water. It's not really this idea of this massive proper generating enterprise. It's really just about delivering secure, safe water to the residents. And so, yes, to get that service, you're paying for it, but to articulate it as though it's a tax like other taxes, not exactly the same thing.
Okay, so I'll go with you what you explained, but my next question is that the water rate decided by JCME board members, there any way, Council President, can we as this body to whatever they set up the rate before they charge to the people of Jersey City, there any way they require by, like a bond issue, by consent by City Council?
Well, the reason why we're an autonomous agency, so you could dissolve the agency if you guys want to take control of it, you could go down that route.
No, I mean, that's the rate.
Yeah, but that's you're either autonomous or you're not. You can't be partially autonomous.
You're asking if the council can set the rate?
Yeah.
No, we're not the same. They set the rate, but before they send the bill to the user, they must have the price, if it's the price change, have to require consent by City Council.
It's one of the questions for law enforcement council.
Yes.
Are we consenting to the capital projects that I have?
Well, I think he's got a question here.
Just repeat the question, please.
So now, the water rates, their board decided, but whatever the board decide, before they send actual bill, they require by consent by City Council. Let's say they charge $4 1 CCF, before they send the bill, the end of user in Jersey City, then the rate must have to approved by consent by General Council before they send the bill. So we can able to some control for their rate, water rate.
What I recommend is I would let the law department do some research on that.
Actually, they're opportunity to them, they come to City Council, why they have to be, rate have to increase and so and so. So we all knows that reason why they increase.
The questions you're asking, then at what point do they cease to be an autonomous agency? So I think,
We're approving their capital budget.
Yeah. I mean,
We're not approving our capital budget, it's setting
To our debt ask. So we spend capital money in several ways. It's just the debt.
The point being that there's some degree of. It's not a clear line, right? So it's not fully autonomous.
Go ahead, Mike.
Let's begin. Somewhat correct, but not entirely. The reason we're here for the capital budget and for the bonds is because the city of Jersey City secures those bonds through their GO guarantee, so that in the event there aren't enough revenues to pay those,
it will come back to Jersey City to pay those. So you're a participant, you're separate, but you're a participant, you're basically our loan guarantor.
Yeah.
So that's probably a significant reason, while we're here today, we're not here as a mandate of law, we're here pursuing on the bond resolution and the capital projects due to the service contracts that we have with you where you guarantee the payments.
Yeah, but what do you pay the bond? The bond guaranteed by City of Jersey City. If you guys have failed to pay, City of Jersey is responsible. But not only that, when you issue a bond, the bond increase actually impact the water rate. So we should be knows that.
It could.
Yes. Automatically, whatever you guys issue bond, you gotta pay off the monthly, yearly payment.
It's more complicated, but we haven't gotten into that presentation yet, which we can do that if you want to, if you're ready, if you're done with the bulk water.
Because of that, water rates impact people of Jersey City. So they should have like a bond, increase the water rate should be consented by the Corporation Council, Jersey City Council. So we knows that when you ask $500 million bond, we say, wait a minute, we're gonna say yes, then now next step, what kind of impact to water rate the people of Jersey City?
That's right.
It's a hand to hand, so.
When we get to the bond, when we get to the debt presentation, we should talk about that. But I do want to make it clear that I'm happy to, we don't just raise our rates arbitrarily. A rate study has to be done, and that rate study would have to be shown to our auditors, as you saw through our last audit report, and other institutions. So when we do that rate study, which we are going to be doing on a regular basis, we'll bring you guys the rate study. That's easy, and we're happy to do that. And then we can look at the rate study.
When you change your rate, so what the Corporation Council, I some part of it disagree, but even though you do that, you come up City Council, explain to us this council.
Yeah, happy to bring
we're
the rate
going to
study.
change your rate based on certain reason because we got to pay $5 million bond, and we have $1,000 million bond outstanding. Because of the pay of the bond, we have to be rate. So we and you guys are same page together. Other than that, City Council feel like acting like a bond issue is nothing to do with the water rate, no, but it's an impact.
I think we should finish with the bulk water so we can actually get into the debt question. So just to close out the bulk water thing, you should know that the amount of money that this money comes in and offsets our rate obligations for our individual ratepayers, so it's a very important revenue source for us. It's $288,000 from Montville. It's $3.6 million from the One Suez deal, which is really the Hoboken water supply, and it's $5.7 million Suez users. So as you can see, the Jersey City ratepayers are realizing something in the ballpark of $9+ million a year in bulk water sales, which is very helpful for us. Very good thing all around.
Total $9 million.
A little more than $9 million. Yeah. No. We have other bulk water sales, but these are the principal ones.
Okay. And then is Montville new or are they?
Nope.
No, they've
all been existing. All right, so.
Gentlemen, I'm just making clear that total bulk sale, water bulk sale, we're going to have a $9 million revenue.
Yeah, 9+, yeah.
So then, this one and the total, or just $9 million come from where? Just
it comes from three sources: $288,000 from Montville, about 3.6 comes from Suez, but the water's really being used by Hoboken, and then another 5.7 from Suez directly.
So total we can expect $9 million.
A little more, yeah.
Little more.
Yeah.
Right? So if we do water rate change, the revenue will be increased.
That's right. If the water rate changes, revenue goes up. If their usage goes up, we'll realize more income that way as well. And we go out, we look to try and get other bulk agreements, so certainly we try to do our best to leverage the asset. As you know, right now our reservoirs are spilling over, we're overflowing. So if anyone wants to get some water, we have it.
The state audit report has issues with water, and you feel confident that those are resolved?
Yes, and that's what we're talking about when we talk about these rate studies. What the audit, there's a lot of misunderstanding around the audit, but what the issue that we talk about when we talk about the rates is before the Fulton administration took office and started working with the agency, they had a structured automatic increase over 4 years to raise revenues. And that was done for good reason, because we knew we had all these capital outlays. And so the goal was to try and build up reserves so you wouldn't have to do as much bonding and so forth. But the auditors and the state felt like there wasn't a sufficient process in place to justify the rate increases, because the real way you're supposed to do it, prescribed by state law, is, you're supposed to do a rate study, and you're supposed to look at your costs, you're supposed to look at your revenues year over year, and say, okay, based on that, for the agency to survive and be healthy, you need a rate of this amount. And they weren't doing that; they were just autopiloting it, which is, a good, a healthy way to run an organization, but it just didn't satisfy the state process. So that's why now we are going to go for it, and we're going to go through that state process, and we'll see, is our rate healthy, is it good, is it too much, is it too little, and then based on that, we'll know what we have to do. And that's the document I'll bring for you guys to see, so you can see what we need to show the state.
The director of the JCMU say, we're going to have a total $9 million revenue by
Plus,
both
9
of us,
plus.
plus. So my next question is ask that, what is the net profit of JCMUA?
So we don't look at it as net profit. That's not how that works.
I mean, that when you provide this kind of amount of bulk water to the different town, probably the cost is involved.
Really very.
So how much is cost?
Very little cost is involved.
No, don't just say very little
No,
cost.
Councilman, don't interrupt me. Like I said to you, you can't look at it as net profit. We're not a for-profit entity. We don't study it that way. You got to look at it as a cost offset, and it's almost a full cost offset for us. So when we say we're going to realize $9.6 million, it's really a full cost offset. There's marginal cost. It's an opportunity cost, and it's marginal for us. So it's a $9+ million offset, cost offset for us.
We know there's a non-profit organization, but at least when you do that, they produce the millions of gallons of water, you know what I'm saying? They have a cost involved. We sell the $9 million, and they have some, the way you say, the secret cost that they purchase the waters from us, but they put in the profit, you said that just before. So what kind of profit we put in the sale?
The way the water works is it's in the reservoir, right? It goes through an aqueduct that's primarily gravity fed to different points. When it goes through our lines to meet up into their system, they take over and they have to get it to their individual users. All we have to do is let the water flow through the line to connect into their system. So the costs, if any, are maintaining whatever that line is, that's our responsibility before it connects to their system. So if there's the costs that come involved is if there's a break along that line or maintaining that line. That's the cost, but it's not quantified. We haven't quantified it just as if this is the cost to bring the water directly to Hoboken.
John?
Yes.
As a finance officer, John Farrell explains it. You think it can make sense? I don't think so. If you have a financial background, you're going to be disagreeing. I know he's your boss, but it doesn't make any sense to us. Other different towns, and John Farrell mentioned it very clear. City of Jersey pay around 10%. The user pay 10% less than other town because other town purchase the bulk water from the City of Jersey and they add it to their profit, so their water costs a little higher than Jersey City. Understandable. Now, my ask is that when you sell the water to other town, $9 million, then we have to make sure sell the JCMU, we have some profit added to. So I want to know, when you sell the $9 million worth of water to those towns, what is the actual net our profit?
JCMU. Okay? And you're not going to sit here and say to one of my staff members, answer it instead. Again, I'm the boss. I've answered the question. Okay?
Gentlemen, you answer it.
I've answered it.
No, that's not the answer.
The answer is our costs are marginal. We run the water from the reservoir through the aqueduct to connect with the system. Our costs are in maintaining that connection. So it depends. If there's a break that year, then there's a cost. What's that? Montville pays our bulk rate, but then they get the water and then they deliver it, they distribute it, yeah. So.
As a businessman, when I purchase merchandise,
I know my monthly expense how much. I know how much I purchased it. I know how much markup I'm going to put it in. So I know exactly what is going to left.
What I'm telling you is we don't look at water that way. We don't say, okay, we're going to put a markup of X on the water. We don't do that. We're not allowed to do that. I'm trying to explain it. Should we get to the debt?
Yeah. This is Z43. The consenting to the undertaking of certain capital projects by the Jersey City MUA, Municipal Utilities Authority.
So I thought this was a good time to just pass around a little package to show you what we've been doing on other capital projects, so you get a sense of what happens once you guys approve debt. Then we go in and we do these types of projects. So these are the last major capital things that we've been doing. So these are projects that are already ongoing. A very small number of them are actually in this debt request as well because of the cost of overruns. What we've realized is really several important factors for you guys to take into consideration. One, obviously, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in Jersey City to maintain our infrastructure. A big part of what we're doing and what we're asking debt for is really not optional. We're operating under a consent order. I know you guys have heard that for a long time. The city's been working through the consent order for, how long? About 10 years at least, something like that. And we're now in what we are considering the phase component of that program. And that phase component is really about sewers that we've agreed to upgrade in a sequence. But of course, when you rip up the road, you don't want to just do the sewers. So what we've done, even though we're not under a consent order to do, is we've looked at everywhere we're ripping up roads, and we're trying to check the water systems as well so that we can go in once. And if we have to do sewer and water, we're going to do both. And to upgrade those systems, of course, we are using internal resources as well as third-party resources. And what we're realizing is, as we wait to do this work, the cost of this work just gets more and more expensive. So it's really prudent that we get this under control as soon as possible. One, to honor our court-ordered obligations, and two, to really upgrade our systems so that we can try to really reduce the number of breaks and issues in our system. So in the resolution, you'll see a full list of the projects that we're proposing and the costs that we're estimating associated with them. Obviously, there'll be a procurement process for each of these projects. So these are just estimates, and we're hoping to stay in line with them, if not, come in below. And there's a considerable amount of work being proposed, but the good news is, as we work through those issues, the benefits to the system are exponential. Now, as to the packet that we just handed out, it's really exciting to see the types of things that are going on. You'll see green infrastructure projects, and we're going to try and incorporate these type of sustainable solutions to everything we do. You're going to see the valve project. It's $5 million was spent to try and increase how we're connecting and how we're controlling how our flows are moving through our system. These are the types of things that go wrong. These junction points, when they fail, they create major issues for the system, and they're very expensive. And they're more expensive to go in and do as an emergency as opposed to being proactive and maintaining and upgrading on a regular basis. Of course, generators, all that hardening that we have now to be more prepared for storms so that we don't run into issues like we saw in Sandy. And then, of course, you're going to see just the standard rehabilitation work. It is a very complicated thing when we go in and rip up streets, and we know how disruptive that could be to our communities. So the sequencing of the work that we're going to propose for the new stuff in the resolution, we're going to be doing a lot in a relatively short period of time. We're looking at 3 to 5 years to move through this debt request. But the goal is to try and do it in a way that's as least impactful to the residents as possible. But there are going to be some disruptions, so I wanted to share that with everybody. But it's stuff that we have to do to continue to provide first-rate service to our residents. And just preemptively, because I know you already asked about how it works to the ratepayers. So I'm just going to ask John to talk about how much debt the agency has and where we are with debt and how this will impact our budget.
Well, right now, we have $190 million in debt.
$190 million debt.
And our debt service is about 25 million. This year coming up, or next year coming up, in 19, we will be paying off a debt service, reduce our debt service by $6 million. A significant bond that was issued 20 years ago is finished, is paid for. So we're going to reduce our debt service to about 20 million. Now, you know, we're going to phase this in.
When will that be effective, the 20 million debt service?
Next year. So what we're doing is we're phasing this in over the next 5 years, these projects, 3 to 5 years. They're going to be expensive. They are expensive, but I mean, it's the kind of work that we have to do. Otherwise, you know, people aren't getting the kind of infrastructure they demand and that they deserve. So when we're talking about this, the basic plan is to have rate increases of about 2%. So that's to carry this.
Rate increases of 2%?
About 2-3%. We used to say like kind of cost of living type of increases.
Annually? What's that? That's annually.
Well, we do the rate study annually, but I mean, that's yes.
The real point of that is to say, once we borrow this money, the impact to our system, we're not anticipating it being anything more than inflation. We don't know what the rate study will show, of course, you got to do the study, but based on our costing and our review at this point, that would be the anticipation. It's not going to be more than inflation.
The other thing is that this.
Annual rate increases.
Well, that's saying that's what we would anticipate based on this debt.
Based on this debt, if authorized, right?
If authorized.
And then, so cost, just inflation and so forth, that'd be on top of that?
Well, no.
No, we're going to try to, the intention is to keep the increase at about, 2 to 3%. We're also, I mean, all this money is all being borrowed at less than 1% interest. And we have some bonds out there that we cannot refinance due to, they've been refinanced already, and we're paying 4% interest on that. So we're kind of rolling the debt from old debt to cheaper debt. And, so that'll be a benefit. And the other thing is, when you do these projects, you have less repairs. If you put a new pipe in it, it's much less likely to break. And that we will see some benefit out of that too.
So let me just clear. If we, city council, give us a consent of the issue bond for $527 million, they're going to be impact. Our water rate will be go around the 2 to 3%, correct?
2 to 3%?
Yes. If we issue $527 million.
Over the next 5 years.
So we wouldn't do it all at once, we'd do it as we.
All of these projects, doing them over the next 5 years?
Yes.
There's a 5 years means that the rate increase 2 to 3% every year. Well, they've increased 2-3% over the 5 years.
We're going to do a rate study every year, and basically it would be, every year.
Every year.
Yes, but we're going to do a rate study.
2 to 3%.
Yes.
That's right.
I'm giving you basic answers. Very simple. It's, looking out 5 years from now, it gets really tough, obviously, right? So, but we do a rate study. We'll do a rate study, and additionally, we haven't raised the rate for about 3 years now.
That's right.
So.
Why? Because the job is a good job?
Because you did a good job.
So I think a lot of the council disagree that our infrastructure have to be upgraded, no question about it. So that I'm pretty sure none of the council people now object with issue, but our concern is that we talked about the issue bond last year. You remember that last year, Council President? Last year, we talked about $450 million capital project. This is, top of that was a SAM.
It's half-half. Some of the projects listed here were just increasing when we, as we did the more engineering studies, the scope of the work increased, and then we, it's in.
Go through them?
Sure.
Just go through them.
Just before we go on, then, last year, this body, this council, gives us, I'm sorry?
I'm pretty sure we didn't ask for that last year.
$450 million. Can't you check that? Yeah, last year, this body, that around the $450 million issue bond for infrastructure improvement to JCMUA. So now you guys come back another, I think less than years. Now they ask $527 million more. So I'm wondering, so you guys are in less than 2 years, almost $1,000 million.
Billion.
It's a billion.
We'll check. I thought we asked for something around 100 million last year, but we'll check.
Around $450 million.
But
maybe I'm wrong, you know, but I just remember that.
We'll verify.
Yes, please.
For that. But yeah, so you'll see if you go through the projects, what we're doing here. So you're talking about the phases. Anytime you see a phase, you know that's from the consent order. Now, what we have done with a lot of the phases, as I explained earlier, is we tried to look to see if the water needed to be updated as well. And if it did, we combined them. So we did it all at once, and we only go in that hole once. So you'll see phase 5 is a sewer repair. It's $20 million. You already previously approved 12, so we've added $8 million because of the cost, and we expanded the scope of the project. So we did more feet.
Does that mean it's an additional 8 million?
Yeah, an additional $8 million.
Is this authorization an additional 8 million, or is it 20 million?
Well, this
Total is 20.
Yeah.
12 million was already approved.
That's right.
A year ago.
Right. So it's an additional $8 million to put it there in terms.
So $12 million, additional $20 million.
No, an additional 8.
So you guys, phase 5, $32 million.
No, incorrect, I'm sorry. Last year we came here, and the council approved 12 million. Now, the estimate has gone to 20 million. Well, the scope of the project has increased. It seems also like, as the economy is a little more robust, when we go to bid, the prices are a little higher. But to a large extent, the phase was increased.
That's right.
So phase 5, you want $81 million.
Yes.
That's what I mean?
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
Richie,
what was added into phase? We added
phase
some
5.
We added, due to a lot of the development in certain areas of the city, we added from the original request, additional increase in the size of sewers and water mains to accommodate the infrastructure, to accommodate the future developments in the area.
So larger pipe.
Where's phase 5?
Phase 5 is, a lot of these phases are throughout the whole system, but a lot of it is in the Lafayette area, Pine Street, Whiten Street, Maple Street, in that neck of the woods.
So there's a lot of talk of more development in that area.
That's why we're increasing the size of the pipe. Yes.
Is that factoring that in?
That's why we increased the size of the pipe. Wow.
So you increase infrastructure, future development area, correct?
Just to be clear, by the way, just have the number confirmed. Last year we asked for 155 million.
155 million?
Yeah.
Yes. 155 million.
How much did we spend on that?
Well, projects.
That's why.
I'm gonna say, 30. Say 50.
I'll get it for you. I just haven't had a talk
Yeah.
to Councilman about what projects already have city approval.
2017?
Yeah.
I don't have any years on them. I can tell you that in the past, the city has approved or consented to, I should say, $45 million worth of water projects and $110 million worth of sewer projects.
That's right.
Whether that was
That's
only
right.
last year or combined of prior years as well, I don't have that information on that.
Some of this. And then as you see, we tried to ask for it on each resolution, the increase. So some of these projects, for instance, was going to the first one, so 5 was approved for 12, another one was approved for 24. So they were already approved, so you have to back those out. You want to know exactly what that number is, but that's just math.
So with, I'm not sure if I opened up the can of worms here. And I don't really want to get into the whole redevelopment, eminent domain issue around this stuff, but, so with, like, for example, Bates, the conversation about infrastructure there, and that the developers there would then contribute to the cost of the infrastructure. Over in Phase 5, there's similar proposed developments or potential developments in those areas, I believe. And Jermaine, you probably know better than, I mean, you've had recent conversations, I think, with folks. Is that the same area? Where the...
Off of Johnston Avenue.
It's off of Johnson.
Johnson, it's not the big street.
But to your point, Councilman, we are going to be looking at our connection fees. But again, we're not able to just do things instantaneously. So we're going to look at our connection fees with another rate study to justify an increase. So even though we're outlaying this cost now, as we go into areas where the reason is modern or new development, we're going to use that as a justification when we do our study to say, okay, we should be charging more for our connection fees. So they're offsetting those costs for us. So we're going to do some cost recapture on as much of this as we can. But some of it is just, look, when the city gets bigger, you got to increase capacity. But also, some of it is, and most of it is, our system is old. We have, 200-year-old pipe in some of these places, wood and brick sewer, and we just have to update it. So I don't want to get, I don't want to get lost. I don't want to lose the fact that some of this, in a significant, most of this money is just money that should have been spent over the last 50 years or so and hasn't. So it's been kicked and kicked and kicked down the road, and now we're all here having to. Do you have timetables for all of these? So we have timetables for them, particularly the phases. And, that's a good question, Council President, because I just want to go back. We asked for $155 million last year. We didn't spend $155 million last year. We ask for what we see coming down the pipe, and then we do as much of the work as we can. So the phases are on a specific timeline because we have to comply with the consent order.
Can you send us the timeline?
Yes. We'll send that to you.
You know the timelines for the others?
So some of them don't have timelines. Some of them are done. So for instance, I'll take you down to the 4th item on the list, Pine Street Siphon. That's a $10 million ask. We actually closed that project out already. That was an emergency response. That is a sewer that collapsed under a train trestle. So it was an emergency project that we had to do. And then we actually closed that out for a little under 7. So we could actually adjust that once we get the final numbers in. So we're asking for the ability to borrow 10, but we'll probably only end up borrowing 7 on that.
Okay, phase 1 and 2, where is that?
Well, we'll give you, we can go through each one, but we're going to send it to you. Anything with a phase, we're going to send it to you because that's already timelined out.
Okay, how about sanitary sewer? What is that?
Sanitary sewer?
It's Van Winkle.
Van Winkle?
Yeah.
Yeah, Van Winkle, we're ready for construction.
So that's going to go before the fall. That's supposed to start. It's just about getting through the procurement process. So as long as the procurement process closes out well, we're going to be starting that, and that should take how long to finish?
Probably about 6 to 8 months.
So that's a 6 to 8 month project.
JCM engineer, and he provide the phase 1 means what project involved. He did that actually, and all the numbers and actually, yeah. So phase, yeah. Please, can we send one more time? Yeah.
We talked about Pine, Mill Creek sewer improvement, which is a big one. When's that going?
That's all depending on, within the next 2 years, that's all depending on the future development also.
So that depends on whether the Mill Creek project moves forward, whether we do that, and there will be some cost recapture on that one. I would slate that for probably 2.5 years out. You're looking at a start time on that.
That is behind the medical center off Etna Street, off Jersey.
That's right.
Adjacent to the turnpike.
Right.
So you guys are going to spend
$50 million, Mill Creek sewer improvement for future development.
So the Mill Creek sewer improvement is going to include, hopefully in it, a remedy for that entire area of the city to help reduce the flooding there. It should improve a netting chamber and an outflow
Correct.
extension, but it's all tied into the Jersey Avenue Bridge being done and then other development happening in the area. Right now, there's very little infrastructure in that area.
We have properties over there?
The city sold the property area to the medical center. I think we still have more. But we sold our most valuable stuff to the medical center.
And that project's going to help solve the flooding under Marcelli's.
That's right.
Constantly, we all know about Marcelli's when it rains heavy, it becomes a lake.
And frankly, even with this estimated cost, we know the actual improvements there are going to cost more than $50 million to do this. So that we're already anticipating that the developers are going to kick in.
Grand Street is just Grand Street?
Yeah, Grand Street improvement is really another outflow project, and is that a netting chamber or something?
We are actually televising and cleaning the Grand Street sewer from Fairmont to the Hudson River. That's phase one. Phase two we'll take that information and see what we need to replace or reline to keep that sewer flowing.
And then just a note, so what we're coordinating now with the BA and engineering, because they have the Grand Street Vision coming, so to make sure we minimize disruption as much as possible.
And that's ongoing, that cleaning and televised. You might see another phase that, as he's explaining. Phase 5 is a phase. You got. Grand Street's ongoing.
Grand Street's, ongoing now, has to be completed by 2019.
We got a lot of projects, so. Like I said, we'll send you anything with the phase. So that takes us all the way down to Pump Station 3B.
Pump Station 3B is from the DEP. We have to raise all our equipment above the 500-year flood elevation as per DEP. We foresee that right now it's in design. We hopefully to get it built by the end of 2019, 2020.
Grit chamber improvements. Small.
Yeah, that's currently going on right now.
So this is the biggest one, really one-time thing, is the new administrative building. As you know, we're getting off of the 440 site, and we're going to be moving to Commerce Street. We just bought that property from you guys. This $60 million cost includes demoing our current property and doing whatever we have to do there, as well as design and build of the new site. We're looking to do a completely green infrastructure, and we're looking to also provide some of the infrastructure that the city's asked for, a greenway and all those other things. We're cutting it a little close on the cost, but we're going to try and do it as efficiently as possible. We're going to try and go after some grants and things as well.
What was Grit Chamber?
Grit chamber going.
Grid chamber is the repair and replacement of the screen bars in our east and west side plant.
Repair and replacement of what?
Of our bar screens that collects the floatables before.
It's a filter.
Yeah, it's a filter before it goes out to Passaic Valley for treatment.
Any questions, anyone?
So, if they finish their spend those kind of dollars in this area, the Councilman James Gallagher feel comfortable having no more flooding issue in downtown? That's what I want to know. That's the end of it. End of the day, Councilman James Gallagher, we all want to know, spend the millions of dollars, then it's going to be reserved that any future flooding issue in downtown.
I mean, at the end of the day, there are areas of downtown that are just below sea level that were reclaimed, properties. So we're doing everything we can to alleviate as many of those issues as possible. But as we went through it before, there are certain things that are just cost prohibitive, So, for example, to go back to the Mill Creek project, we're talking about doing a pretty significant spend there, and that'll hopefully alleviate the Marcelli Street problem. And we weren't initially going to spend $50 million there, but we decided to increase it and just really do it. But the remedy there is is gonna be, extremely expensive. But we think it'll work there. Some areas, you could spend that kind of money and still not get a full solution. So wherever we're working with different systems and strategies in different areas. So for example, another project we're looking at that's not really represented here is Jersey Avenue. On the other side of the city, they have extreme flooding there. There's like a bowl where it goes below. So there, we're gonna raise the whole street grid. And we're working with the developers to create green infrastructure. So it's kind of like a hand in hand. We're gonna do the things that we have to do because we maintain the pipes. We're gonna start asking developers to do more with green infrastructure, with, impervious pavers and bioswales and absorbing planters. So hopefully, all working together, we're gonna be able to really get this problem under control. But I can't tell you that this money alone solves all the problems. That's not how it works. It's multi-phase, multi-pieced.
You don't have a floor.
This will help considerably.
Hey, use a couple, give them a vote.
So now we got the transmission main installed. So go ahead.
What is that? South side loop to Newport, water main loop to Newport.
So transmission main,
To Newport.
the transition main means the high-powered main. So when we talked about that reservoir and the aqueduct coming in, it comes in high pressure on a transition main that helps us spread it throughout the city. So that's a very expensive process to fix though. So that's that one. You have Burma Road area water system improvement.
Right now, along Burma Road, there's only one feed that feeds, like Rita Cisco and the Daily News. In the past, we had a couple breaks on the water main, put those businesses out of service. So we're looking for a redundant service in the event that the water main breaks again, or it goes out of service for a period of time, that those businesses have water every day.
So to to help maybe answer your question, when we talk about cost of providing water, this is the type of thing that now we have an increased cost. We have lines that are 200 years old and we maintain them or whatever, but when we have to put in a whole new system to make a redundant system, now that's a significant increase to our cost. But it's prudent because we want to make sure that we don't have to start telling people they can't have water for any period of time. So that's why we're doing that.
So we're building an entire system for the area where all these businesses are?
Yes.
And the city as a whole is spending $7 million?
Yes.
On this?
Yes.
And
it's huge for, us to protect the, economics of the viability of the city. So you're not telling businesses they have to close down when there's a break. We never try to have just one feed in the city. Okay. The large valve replacement program. Yeah, so we previously approved 5 million. We're asking for 3 additional. It's just like I said, those valves are important for us to maintain. The more of them are broken, so we have to go in and fix them. That's what's going on here.
let me just, going back, do you have like rates for the business? Like, so is this water supply for Burma Road specifically supplying those businesses? Like, we're spending $7 million to supply these businesses with water. I don't know if they hire a single Jersey City person over there, frankly. That's number one for me. But, like, do we have separate rates for businesses of that type or nature, or is it like the same? Wow, okay. Let's keep going.
So, yeah, so I'm just checking on that. There's about 10 or 15 blocks of residential that's impacted there as well. And we've had significant problems on Burma Road.
Some of the dead ends on Garfield, Eastview Court, East Bidwell Court, some people on Garfield, Wilkinson. I could get you the exact locations.
Yeah, let's get them the number of residences impacted so we know. All right, Tunley Avenue replacement project. This one is going to be a complicated one, obviously, because it's on Tunley Avenue. We're not looking forward to it, but it has to be done. We have a pressure problem there with our water line, so we're having issues with fire hydrants in the area, and so it's become a critical safety concern, and that's why we're finally going ahead and doing it.
Tunley Avenue is not just a water pressure issue, but also sewer issue, sewer lines. And every time the rain, actually it's like a ribbon, you know?
So the sewer piece.
Look, the one thing on the water side is not only that we have loss of pressure, but every time we have a break, we had like 3 or 4 breaks in the last year, it causes traffic, it causes the DOT, but also the sewers on Tunley Avenue are owned by the DOT. So all the catch basins that you see flooding and collapsing, they're not Jersey's responsibility to own or maintain them. Those are the responsibility of the New Jersey Department of Transportation.
So now.
And we've been in discussions with them about it.
Yeah, so now my question is that when the people has a problem in that area, they usually call my office. And when I call the JCMUA, they say it's a DOT issue. But do they have any communication channel between JCMUA from DOT?
Yes.
Or they should be, I mean, we got to politically, whatever we can do, push them, DOT come up, some kind of improvement to, that area.
We've been in discussions with DOT about it, and we're working with them on it.
We just recently sent a letter 2 to 3 weeks ago, I believe, to the DOT, asking them to do an investigation of all their drainage system, not only on Tunley Avenue, but on 440, and make the necessary repairs because to prevent flooding and icing conditions in the wintertime.
Because the non-catching basin is actually completely blocked.
But you should definitely reach out to the DOT directly, because you might have more sway than we would, because it is important that we get that done.
And I can forward you the letter that I sent to them.
The 139 water main replacement project, this is an important project for us to do, but the real reason why this came up is because obviously DOT is doing 139 now, and as they're doing it, we should go in and upgrade our infrastructure now, so it's a less of an impact to our residents, because it's already being impacted for the work. Yeah, so they're almost done. We have to go in, and then I think PSE&G has to go in, and then they'll be able to finish the project. So obviously you got some more phase work here. If we want to talk about the 2 4MG elevated tanks. 8.5 million per tank? Yeah. MG elevated tank?
Those are the first,
Just like, spend something that's been.
You know what they are?
Like 10 years, we put tanks in the city.
that's for the.
Oh, sorry, these are, this is actually a sustainability thing we're looking at. And truthfully, it's on here, but we're still looking at it closer. But what these are tanks where you would store water so that we would have a stronger water reserve in the city. So that's something wherever it happened to our aqueduct, we have a certain period of time where we can still provide water before we have to shut the city off. It's just a redundancy, it's a resiliency. It's a resiliency issue, yes.
It's a big city.
Yes, these are big tanks, that's why they're so expensive. So the idea is, we used to have active reservoirs in the city, Troy Street and what do they call that, Reservoir 3, is it called? Reservoir 3, but those aren't working reservoirs anymore. We do have believe it or not, the amount of water we have in our system in the pipes in the city is a reserve, because there's so much linear feet of pipe that the water in the system gives us some reserve. And this would augment that reserve so that we have a little time to respond in the event of a major emergency. So this is the type of stuff that we're actually looking at. People have been talking about doing this for over a decade, but no one's actually wanted to bite the bullet and do it. You can see it's very expensive. But I think it's time that we start really thinking about these things, because we never want to be in a situation where there's a major emergency and we have to say, well, we talked about it, but we didn't want to spend the money. Okay. There's a couple more. That's in Lyndhurst, and that's just a treatment facility that we're just gonna upgrade our treatment processes, try to make everything a little bit easier and streamlined. You have the 36-inch water main replacement in Hackensack. That's actually a water main we have that feeds the city, a part of our aqueduct system. It's under the Hackensack River. It is broken. And we've realized that we're bleeding an extraordinary amount of water into the Hackensack River. And as a result, we had to go and shut off that area of water main. And so now we have to go in and re-drill a water main under the Hackensack River, and that's what that is. Booton Dam, Baskill Gates, that's about the dam hardening, that's just dam maintenance. We have these gates on the dam, and they're so old that they don't work anymore, so we're finally going in and addressing that. Dam security upgrades, this is again something we're doing to just increase security up at our dam. Some hardening, some cameras, we have no cameras there right now, so that's what that is, investment in that. You got a bunch more phases, and that's it. And as I said, a lot of work.
Because the city of Jersey in the future as a master
Expensive.
developer like a basement. But they have nothing, any, you guys, well, preparation for that your bayfront to need to set up some kind of the infrastructure, but it's not on the plan.
So Bayfront, interestingly enough, has some infrastructure in place already on the corridor with corridors, but when whoever comes in and actually develops Bayfront, it was always anticipated that they would run the lines in Bayfront and connect into the system.
But so just make it clear that because you guys are in charge of that sewer and water lines, so whoever develop in that area, the developer is responsible for sewer line and the water line.
That's right. To connect into the system.
Connect to the system.
Yeah.
But my next question is that our system is ready to, in the future, to any development able to connect our system.
So we're in the process of trying to upgrade in key areas. Bayfront's in a lucky area because Bayfront's right next to the outflow where we run the sewer to Passaic Valley. So they just have to connect and literally shoot across.
But I mean,
so the water's a little bit more of an issue on the Bayfront side, and we have capacity there.
But I know that, but so let's see is that if the developers things to happen next year, January, then our system is able to provide to the developer connect with our system. So our system is okay to do that.
If I understand correctly, are they able to connect to our system? Yes. Yes. Yes.
You know, we don't have to be any improved or any those kind of things not require our side. It's ready, right?
Yeah, if I understand, they would be connecting in at the end of the system and shooting across the river. So they're fine. We're just in the process of connecting NJCU right now. They've got buildings coming online on a pretty regular basis at this point, and they just connect right in and they shoot the sewer across.
Hey, just keep in mind that their storm, whoever's the developer, will actually discharge all their storm into the Hackensack River, which it won't even affect our sewer system. So basically, we have to worry about the sanitary flow, as the director said. We're right next door, we can handle the flow with that, and there's a 20-inch water main on 440, which they could tap off.
So the reason I'm asking you, when they were Bayfront to start any construction, I don't want you guys come, but we got to issue another $50 million bond to prepare for that. We don't have to worry about it.
But I would say this will be something that you guys have your prerogative, is when you do approve whatever the final development is on Bayfront, I would strongly encourage you to include green sustainable technologies in the development, so the sidewalks and so forth should be impervious and all that kind of good stuff.
Is that the same thing at Canal Crossing over on the Garfield Avenue side?
I would say yes.
Get back to this.
Okay. Any other questions?
Council people have questions related to the request for bond issuance?
So, how did you guys decide on this number, right? I mean, did you do an analysis of sort of what, fiscally you could handle? Is it based on studies? How did you come up with these as the projects you presented to us?
The projects come under the consent decree, so we have to do that. So then we have engineering estimates of how much this will cost to do it.
When we say you have to do them, is it like timing-wise, are you under a certain deadline? If you could...
We are under a deadline. We're in the process of actually asking for an extension. I don't know where we are. We're asking for 5 years.
Correct. The current deadline for the original consent decree has to be done by December 2021.
We're obviously not going to make that date.
So we're actually in the process of requesting from the EPA a 5-year extension.
In terms of like needing to bond for this amount, Councilman Young brings it up with our local bonding, for the city's bonding, you're not really ready to spend, right? Like some of these projects are 2 years out, start dates, so forth.
We will only bond for what we spend. We bond as we spend. It's a rolling thing. We won't go out, bond for all of it and put it in a bank account. We'll bond as we spend.
So we just want to make it clear that, so last year, 2017, this council actually gives consent to the JCMUA, issue $155 million bond.
That's right.
And this year, today, if we give the consent about this one, another 527, so 2 years of period, 2017, 2000, the 2 years, we're going to be given consent to a $682 million bond.
That's right.
Whole lot of money.
A lot of money.
No, really.
Yeah.
$682 million, you know what I'm saying? City of Jersey outstanding bond is around $700 million. And you guys asked in 2 years, $682 million bond is already scary, you know what I'm saying? We know that infrastructure, because of all the infrastructure what we have, yes, we have to be improved, you know what I'm saying? So now, this is a keyword. John said that if we, JCMU issue $527 million a bond, they're going to impact the water rate around increase of 2.2 to 3%. But now you say you guys are not going to issue 500 total like a $682 million one shot. You guys are going to issue $682 million every year so much based on progress of that. Then the water bill have no reason to increase of 2-3% every year.
That's right. It won't go up. We're saying that's the type of impact we're expecting, but to actually do the water rates, we have to do a rate study. And we only would raise rates if it's supported by the rate study, and we will only do it by the bare minimum that we need based on the rate study. And as I said earlier, per your request, once we do a rate study, we will bring that in so you guys can see it. It'll all be transparent. You'll see where the costs are. If there are increases, you'll see what the increases are, and you'll be able to see why it is we're doing what we're doing.
And if JCMU fail to pay bond, then City of Jersey is responsible.
Yeah, but I mean, it would have to be something very dramatic for the MUA to not be able to pay its bonds.
So now, a business administrator, when we guarantee their bond $682 million, what kind of impact our credit rating in the City of Jersey?
It's kind of direct impact on the.
So just to be clear, most of this money we're planning, if not all of it, will be borrowed from EIT. And the EIT, just to be clear, as John already said, is debt you're borrowing at less than 1%. It's also guaranteed by the EIT. So you guys are like our co-signer, and then we have another co-signer. But we have our own debt capacity. And we're all very healthy. Everyone's very healthy. You guys are very healthy. It shouldn't have a negative impact on your bond rating. You're very healthy.
Just say health is fine. I take road.
That's why you guys keep getting bond rating upgrades.
Yes. Okay, well, you can disagree with all these credit ratings.
Just want to ask a question about how we pick what to spend on. Obviously, some of these are the phases, but a reasonable number aren't listed as phases. So how did we decide among those projects? Which ones we decided? Why did we again decide?
Most of them are the phases. The ones that are not the phases, unfortunately for us, are reactions to problems we've been having, and we're doing basically the most emergent work. So some of it's already been done. The Pine Street siphon, that was already done, we had to do it. Mill Creek, we know we have the Marcellus crisis, and we know we have the development coming. So it's a reaction to where we're seeing anticipated development and where we're already having issues. We're trying to solve those issues. That's why we're doing Grand Street. That's right. We know that there's issues there. We know we have a brick sewer there, so we got to just go and see. We've had a number of breaks. So what we've asked Richardson to do is look where are we having the most breaks. Okay, let's go see what's really going on there, and then let's try to solve the problem so we don't have to keep going in and spend the money on an emergency basis and have the emergency disruption. Everything, all these improvements are on the map. So,
Yes.
yeah, and we have televisation. It's a lot of data, but when we check a sewer, we run a TV camera down there, and we see what's going on, and we have those, for
The breaks and
yeah. Every time there's a break, we televise, or if we can. Sometimes we can't. But.
maps somewhere, like visually where we can see.
So we're actually working on some geo mapping, but we don't have, if I understand you correctly, you want like a real-time responsive geo map type of program. We're working on that. We don't have.
Real time, just, so. We've had multiple breaks, and I don't know where they are, but like, and if you overlay them with the projects, then are we like addressing where the breaks are? Is that my question? Like, yeah.
So, Council President?
Yeah.
I'll ask you, number one, from the region engineer. So he did a great job, I appreciate it. So explain to City Council that phase one means what it is, okay? And also that's what we can respond to the resident education. And the timetable, phase one, plan to such time to period. Yes. So all those things we needed, more itemized detailed information what we need, okay? That's one. Number two, Jeremy, is the last one. You actually very said loud 2017. That's the easy one, I'll take care of it right away. What is that? When the people receive the water bill, there were another papers inside talk about the ground. At the time the letter size is so small, in order to read it, that letter, you need the big magnifying glasses. So you say that you're going to take it right away. Still, I received the letter. Still, that letter, I cannot even read it.
I will follow up again. I will follow up again on that, and I apologize, Councilman.
Listen to you, not read it. We
will take care of that today. No problem. I asked. I thought it was done. I will follow up. I know. I apologize.
People can read that. And another issue is that JCM should be looking to reach, because I heard that they changed the meters, water meters, the internet remote control one.
That's right, remote read, yeah.
So we got already complained, the issue. JCMUA make money through the sell the water to people of Georgia City, but now the design of the remote control meter is a big, huge. I think they have 2 times bigger than old meter. Is correct?
I don't know whether they're saying it's big. It shouldn't be.
So now, when I see that the photos, seems like a very big. So now what happened, a lot of old house in Jersey City, they have no shuffle bell before the meters. So when they JCMUA come up, you gotta change the meters, you know what I'm saying? Then it's not cost, because JCMUA not able to change the meter because they have no shuffle bell with outside. So now JCMUA asked the property owner, to set up shuffle valve on the sidewalk. Now cost us some senior housing owners thousands of dollars because they have to open the sidewalk. So what kind of plans do you have, to help that those fixed income senior housing have to be put in the shuffle? Something have to be done. They have financial hardship right there. And not only that, you guys put you to fine $200 every time.
So you're talking about the curb box. Unfortunately, the way our city and most cities in Jersey are set up, the homeowner is responsible for everything from the main to their house. And older homes, when they developed them, they didn't put a curb box, a curb shutoff. So that's where this problem comes into. Right now, as a structure, we're not allowed to just do that for them, unfortunately. So there is no program, to answer your question. So, but what we are willing to do is definitely, if someone has a financial hardship and therefore can't afford to put the curb box in and therefore can't go to the new meter, we're willing to give them time and work with them to figure out a way if they communicate with us and share that with us. And as far as the fines are concerned, when we issue the fines when people refuse to let us in and refuse to work with us, but as soon as a homeowner contacts us, we stop assessing fines. And if a senior citizen were to say, look, I can't afford to do this and I can't afford the fines, we would work with them on the fines, and we've done that in several cases already. So if someone's having a problem, what they need to do is reach out to our metering office and go from there, and we'll work with them. The goal of the fine is not to generate revenue, so don't worry about that.
Actually, the new meters with the financial hardship to the lots of people of Jersey today. So the JCMA, they have some surplus, even though they issue bond, they have some surplus. They should be set aside certain dollars amount for.
As I tried to explain, we're not allowed to use that money to provide what is considered to be a private benefit at this time. We're looking at programs to try and do lead line improvements, but for just a regular homeowner that has a regular connection, that's considered their private property. And I'm not allowed to take the rate money and provide a private benefit to a private property owner. That's why we're not doing it. It's not to say we don't want to, it's just we're not allowed to use the monies for that. It'd be like, the way it's looked at in the law would be like me taking that money and building a pool.
No, it's not. If you.
But I know, but it's not up to us.
If you give the free, yes, but maybe we should set aside some $1 million to set aside to when you have like a financial hardship in the certain fixed income category over 65 income level under 30 years, the $30,000 a year, then maybe you guys fix the, install the shut-off box, maybe that the homeowner is able to pay, install the payment every month.
We already do that, Councilman.
So how they can apply for that?
They don't have to apply, all they have to do is ask.
So in other words, you guys do that,
Yes.
and they pay that the install to pay.
Yes.
So like by 5 years, every year so much.
Yes.
You have a program available.
Yes.
I didn't know that. Anybody knows?
And we've told homeowners when they call and ask, we would work with them. And we will. So all they have to do is call in and ask and start talking with us, and we will try to figure out solutions.
So I think every council members have to wear that, because this is one of the issues in the remote controlled internet reading meter installation, because I got the several complaints already. So if you have a financial hardship resident, they can apply for the JCMUA install shut-off box, whatever cost can be by installment payment. How many years installment payment? 5 years?
We work with them, because some people can't afford the 5 years.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, they did a couple projects in FL.
So I really appreciate it if we run that program.
We're all in it together,
Yeah.
absolutely. I did want to finish your question and answer them. Just so you know, so that's true for almost all the projects on here, what I explained about seeing where the need is, except for the elevated tanks. That's really just a pure resiliency project that we've been talking about for a long time.
Instead of funding a portion of these costs of rate increases, we funding it with a reduction in the franchise fee paid to the city?
Certainly, we can look at that, but truthfully, with EIT and with the below 1% interest rate, the costs to us are really controlled with this money, and we would do everything we could to control any necessary rate increase. So it's marginal.
Yeah, and I don't get that. My concern, not from a superficial lens, that obviously a lot of projects are required, but we're putting a pretty significant burden on our taxpayers in a lot of different ways, and we have a school funding crisis coming that will likely involve some degree of tax increases to some of these folks. So we're talking about rate increases as well. On top of that, it's a lot.
So just so you understand, if we reduce the franchise fee, that just means you have to make that budget shortfall up here.
I understand that.
So that would actually result in a tax increase, whereas
or would result in us being more fiscally responsible.
Or being more fiscally responsible, but again, our rates are set by cost, creating a rate and then usage. So folks in our system, if they want to save money, there's a lot that folks could do to reduce usage. So, a marginal, like a cost of living rate increase isn't really a huge burden to our rate users. And if people are concerned with cost, we have a very, very low conservation effort in our city right now.
These things get bulk out.
Right, I understand that.
You've got the rate increase, and then you got the school tax, and you got the county tax.
I understand that.
City tax, but it all adds to the individual homeowner.
That's right.
All money.
That's right. But we would, the long and short of it, answer my point is, it's a negotiated contract with you guys, and so if you guys wanted us to reduce our franchise fee, you guys are the ones who are actually empowered to do that, and we would have to follow your lead. So obviously we would do that. That was what I wanted to answer.
Any other questions? So how was your job?
I love it. I love it. I think a lot of people are waiting to go.
I think we also need to take a break. I will ask one last thing.
Which is, when these things go out to bid, do you Do you inquire about local hiring?
We do, but we have to do better, but we do. Because we inquire about it, but we have no, it's not compelled, but we inquire. So we're going to do better on that. That was one of my tasks to get over there.
So I brought this up with other things that we've done here in the city with regards to striping and road resurfacing and other things like that. Like, why couldn't we do this like in-house, right? I understand this is very complicated work, right? So it's obviously with $572 million of work, like how much of this is labor costs and so forth, there's an opportunity there to like really, if we train people and get people into some of these opportunities, could we get people hired onto some of these jobs and so forth? So,
And a lot of our contractors we've been working with have already agreed to apprentice programs. I know Greenie's going to do that. We're talking with a few others. So we are right there with you, and we got to do better, but we're working on it.
all right, folks, thank you.
Thank you.
Jeremy and your team. Council, how do you feel about a break?
Yes, take some break.
You should really like, Andrew, like, some folks are being
This stuff is quick.
And Andrew stuff's quick, right? Yeah.
No, you got.
I can't remember.
We got the second reading stuff.
For what? I can't remember.
Oh, no, yours. Yours is not the second reading. I'm sorry, Andrew. I didn't really. No, yours is second.
Parking, handicap.
Okay, Andrew, come on up. Andrew, come on up.
Matt, how much you got? I have three things, resolutions and an ordinance. They're short. They should be short.
Andrew has 3F, 3G, 3H.
3F is an ordinance designating 9 spaces for handicap reserve parking spaces. 3 of them are relocations. 3 of them are changing the person that the space is designated for, and 3 of them are new. They've all been reviewed by the Municipal Council Committee on Reserve Parking.
Okay. No questions there? No? 3G?
3G is an ordinance that amends the limits for Zone 16. When that ordinance was initially approved, it had the easterly extent as Ogden Avenue, which left out a few streets. This just moves it to Patterson Plank Road to encompass all of the roads in the Heights.
Okay, Councilman Yu? Yes, thank you. 3H?
3H designates the intersection of Merritt Street and Avenue C near the Jersey City-Bayonne border as an all-way stop intersection. This request actually came initially from Assemblywoman Angela McKnight.
10H through 10L, these are all public closures, or what are they?
10H is it's a new street closure adjacent to Audubon Park. It's just closing 2 side streets on a Sunday. If there's no questions there, 10I through K are repeat events. 10L is a repeat event, but there are new times. The times that are on this reflected on this agenda need to be updated. I handed Robert an updated resolution. Okay.
Is that the request that Councilman Bozano?
Correct.
Yeah, who's not here.
Okay, I don't want to discuss it today, but probably have a discussion about some of the traffic routes and things like that, complaints regarding parades and around kind of traffic issues.
Okay.
A bunch of complaints, but like traffic being, I think, something to be able to solve somehow.
Sure.
With you and police and.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
So you're working on it, right?
I already, yeah, we finished our review. I'll have them on the agenda for September's meeting, the first September meeting.
Do you have any second readings here?
Yes. What do I have? An always stop at Phillips and Audrey Zapp, 4C. 4D is another stop intersection, Sackett and Oxford. 4E and F, yeah, 4E is Coles. Okay. No problem.
How long? 10 minutes? 5 minutes? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I couldn't hear you.
Why don't you jump to the Bayfront before?
Sure.
We get back, because she has to go at 3.
We can do that.
Great.
And, so can we make it 10 minutes? Yeah?
2:20, restart, 2:20.
Yeah, 2:20. Thank you, everyone.